And streaming online and in Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
You found us. The sports bar. You can always get a different cast of characters when the weather starts to get warmer. Welcome. Well, I'm practically always here. Battaglia with you. Terrible Take Timmy, as he's known, back in today, buddy, wearing his and what Guardians hat is that?
This is the 2016 World Series finalist Indians hat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, same thing, but
same thing. Okay,
different era. Yeah, it's got the 2016 World Series patch on the side.
You don't realize how many different caps, whatever your favorite team is, until you actually go in the official team store.
Yeah,
and I remember going in. They were called the Indians at the time, to their team store and just being overwhelmed. Like they had everything dating back to 1900 basically. But good, that's going to be the thing. You're going to have to wear different headwear coming in every day.
I can do that. So yes, I've got plenty of hats.
You got plenty of hats. Welcome. He's Tim Schneider. I'm Gene Battaglia. You found Rochester's only local sports talk show, the Sports Bar, here on the Fan Rochester. You're always welcome to join us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can hit us up on X, our handle, the Fan Rochester. You can find Tim or I anywhere you want, practically, on social media. YouTube, yes, you can leave a comment there as well. We are streaming on YouTube and Twitch. Let's tell you what's coming up on the show today. As in the 4 o'clock hour, about 4:30, we will talk to our friend Brian Koziel. He's your host of Tee to Green, which you can hear on WGR and also inside the Odyssey app. So we'll talk a little golf about what we saw yesterday. And, yeah, we'll get a take on the Sabres in the NHL because we are roughly 2 weeks away now from deals being made. Whatever, the draft is actually going to be next week. I cannot wrap my mind around that. We'll talk to Brian Koziel coming up in a little bit. And we'll talk to Andy Young. Andy Young from Spectrum kind of put a bow on Bill's minicamp and Bill's period here where everything is going good. Can we just get everybody to training camp right where you left off? We'll get the thoughts of Andy Young, what he saw last week, and how we're headed into the summer here. Again, our number 866-4FAN, 866-4326. I had a fun Father's Day, Tim. Got to see my dad in the morning. He lives out with my mom out in Wayne County, and then saw my father-in-law, and he was at my brother-in-law. They were on Brockport, so I was driving all over the state yesterday, and then got home last night and had myself a nice steak.
A good little Sunday Father's Day. I'm happy for you. I hung out with my father as well. We had ourselves a nice post-U.S. Open, couple cold ones at the local watering hole, and Father's Day is always a good time of the year because it kind of signifies summer for me.
You watch the U.S. Open yesterday?
No.
Okay.
I sort of. I wasn't intently watching, but I was following along.
Yeah, I guess same here. But I was more watching when it was Tiger 2008
the
weather
chaos
delay.
hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was, for a lot of us, if we had to say, all right, pick your favorite major of all time, that's his last one. He wins. That's the last one before, he wins the Masters just, earlier last decade, but 2019. But the point is, before the golf club on, Thanksgiving and all that, that was the last of the great Tiger era there that he has to come back. He's on one knee, essentially, beats Rocco Mediate the next day in the playoff, and kind of left me feeling nostalgic a little bit on Father's Day.
That felt like he was going to run away with the majors title, and it's just a bummer that it kind of went off the rails from that because obviously the greatest golfer of all time, but it stinks that he didn't get those two extra to become like the unified GOAT.
Well, and maybe he could have had he made a few different decisions.
Life
later
got in
on.
the way. Yeah.
Yeah, life got in the way, or maybe hire a driver, and I don't know, like where he is today, and you're just hoping that. Well, I don't know if we'll ever see him on a golf course again. Honestly,
One of the greatest eras in sport, and it changed the game of golf forever. Like, he's an incredible talent.
well, it was one of those stories, Tim, when this is happening, and it's happening in real time, where you go back to Tiger isn't a good guy, and then you have one accuser step forward, then another, and then another. Accuser's a strong word, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, mistress.
Yeah,
Right before the era of Twitter, too. That would have been phenomenal to watch unfold in real time on the tweet machine, but he was a couple years out in front of that.
Yeah, so that was. We'll talk to Brian a little bit about what his favorite major of all time was, and the bias being, man, I did enjoy that one, and it was one of those where you remember where you were, and I also think it gets bonus points. We have an East Coast bias, but when it comes to golf majors, okay, if it's not going to be in Rochester, put it on the West Coast, because I love it in prime time.
Yeah,
and that was one where you're in San Diego. We're all watching that, and it's even getting dark in San Diego by their standards. And oh my gosh, Tiger makes that puck. We're going, and we'll see it tomorrow, folks. And they have to play the whole 18.
Full 18, yeah.
Full 18. So that was a good one, and we got treated to that because of the weather delay yesterday, in which, let's be honest. You didn't have the names.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah,
it was a cool finish, like a phenomenal putt to end it, but there was no drawing power for it. You had an hour and a half delay. We were watching nostalgia Tiger Woods clips, and you come back and wrap it up, but it's JJ Spawn. No discredit to him. I mean, he had a phenomenal tournament, but only person under par and a 64-foot putt to win it. But there's not a whole lot there as far as bringing people in.
The Bills news today, it's not really Bills news, but if you were on social media over the weekend, chances are you saw, oh, hey, there's DeMar Hamlin, and he's putting on a charity basketball game, and here are some of the people that are in attendance. You got Deion Dawkins. Hey, Steph Diggs came back. That's good. He's keeping in contact. And playing on the court is Keon Coleman, and Keon Coleman is lighting people up with 60 points. Can I give an unpopular take?
Sure.
What on earth are you doing?
Dropping 60, man.
No. Stop. If I'm Brandon Beane, okay, you Jim Kelly and others had a clause in their contract that said literally you couldn't ski. Can't do anything like that. And granted, these are world-class athletes, Tim, but you see guys rolling ankles. You see guys doing things, and sure, you want them to be in physical shape and everything else, and Keon Coleman playing pickup basketball and putting in 60. I don't need to see that. In fact, I don't want to see that.
That is pretty dangerous. I remember it was Aaron Boone. He had his contract voided because of a basketball injury.
Good pull, yeah.
I'm surprised that that's not I mean, I get it's for charity and it's a team bonding activity kind of, but that is peculiar that would be allowed based on just the general wording of a contract. Like you're putting them at risk essentially. So it went well, but
no,
there's chances it couldn't.
No, make no mistake. Like the Bills Bills are at no risk. If you get injured in the off season while working out on your own, that's a you problem,
right.
Which to me is kind of so let's just say any athlete in the NFL, you're working out and oh my gosh, I just ripped the pack or whatever it is. Well, technically, because it didn't happen at the team facility, they want, even though we've kind of gone on summer break, they would much rather have you doing your workouts under our supervision and under our insurance. And who's to say how it really happened? So the Bills or any team, like for anybody that's playing pickup basketball, wouldn't have to worry about picking up the tab on that. That would be a Keon Coleman problem. And like you said, same thing with Aaron Boone. on that. How many years ago that was?
Probably close to 20 at this
Yeah.
point. But yeah, that was pretty controversial back then, and I know that a lot of guys have that in their contract now, at least in baseball. Like, you cannot do strenuous physical activity that isn't baseball related. So
Yeah, that's it. Look, and the best, it seems like we're being hypocritical because if you're just talking at, hey, you're starting out and you're in high school, the thing I really kind of don't like is you pick a particular sport and you're playing that sport for 12 months, and you could easily do that between travel this and travel that and camp this and camp that. I think you do learn different skill sets from every other one. So you could say, oh, hey, Keon Coleman, he's playing and he's getting himself in shape playing, shooting the lights out. When you get to the professional level.
It's a little different when it's your job.
Yeah, when it's your job, then, everything else you got to put on hold. I would draw the line at charity softball game. Micah Hyde charity softball game, everybody kind of goes out and you have a good time. You're taking a few swings.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beer league activity by phenomenal professional athletes. It's a little different when you're trying to cross over your buddy and rolling an ankle and hurting yourself on a basketball court, potentially.
Yeah, so we'll get the thoughts of Andy Young, bottom of the hour, as I quite honestly, Tim, was surprised, and since we haven't had you on here in a little bit, kind of surprised that the James Cook storyline went this way, and that's when we're talking sports, well, what makes talking sports fun? Because we really don't know. We're going to watch tonight, Game 5, Pacers, Thunder, and you could say, oh, this is the Thunder, and that's the 3. I could say, well, Halliburton's pretty good. Maybe he pulls this off on the road, and he's setting up his team to take this in 6. We don't know.
The beauty of sport.
Yeah, that's it. And with James Cook, none of us knew.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he was there, and I'm surprised that he was as honest as he was with the circumstances around it all. Like, he's there because he likes his money, but he's also there because he's got to do a job and be a good teammate.
Yeah, the NFL takes that decision away from the Bills and everybody else. Like, oh, come on, you're not going to fine him. Well, no, under the CBA, the teams don't make that decision. The big bad brother NFL is going to, step in there. But if Cook is back and Cook is healthy and the touches remain the same, this is the season for optimism. The majority of teams in the NFL, if you are a fan of, you should feel good in the month of June. You really, really should. Tim, even you.
I don't know about that.
No. I honestly, if you're a Browns fan, you're not thinking Super Bowl, but you're looking forward to that competition. You want to see more Shador tape.
Yeah, I'm not enamored over the possible outcomes of this coming season, but it is nice to be not hopeless. Like, I'm hopeful that something comes out of what they did.
Yeah, right. So for the Bills, this time last year, oh gosh, how do they replace that Diggs production? Who are these guys? What is the complaint? Maybe it's defensive tackle, and you've got 2 guys that are going to be missing 6 games, and you have young talent, but at least you have a plan. Maybe it's the safety position. You're not too sure, but you have a plan. Corner 2, fun competition. There's a plan for everything here in Buffalo. And, Tim, since we've been doing this, if now is not the time, then when is? When is the time?
That's the $1 million question. This is it.
This is it.
It's not really necessarily a window that's closing, but this is the window. Go get it done. You can only come in second place or third place so many times. You got to go and finish it out. You've got questions about the defense, but it's not a glaring hole. This is it.
Honestly, and the reason I can kind of sum this together, because Bills fans, like a lot of others, like the bitch. There is no bitching about this team.
The most valuable player in the National Football League is a Buffalo Bill, and this is the prime opportunity for something to come out of the roster that's been sculpted.
The league MVP this offseason, as a person, I would say his life improved. When you get married and you have that sort of stability, I think that look, can Josh Allen improve off of last year? Even if he takes a half step back, and the turnovers will likely go up. But this is as exciting a time now. I could point to something else too, and there's something else, and I'll ask Andy Young this: is can the Bills get this done ultimately without a Greg Rousseau, without a Joey Bosa, without an Ed Oliver, if they're just all kind of there? And I love Rousseau, but we want more. And Oliver, we definitely want more. And Bosa, I don't know what we're going to get, but can you win a championship, Tim, with just a bunch of B's to C pluses on the defensive line?
It's plausible, but you're really holding out hope that everything goes well on the other side of the ball, and you kind of just skate by. And I think that's the big thing this year is the defense kind of faltered at its most important times. And you've got Josh Allen, you're fine on that side, but the defense has to step up. Somebody has to emerge from that group of players instead of just being a group of talented guys. You have to have somebody who comes out and is an absolute star and kind of leads the charge there. And there's names, there's people, there's choices, but somebody has to come from that group and take them to the next spot for this team to become the championship caliber team that it is and has been. But you got to get over that hump.
What about Bosa? He hasn't been healthy, so can you get him? And I'm not concerned about them babying him during the spring practices. It's whatever at this point. But to me, the defensive line is always going to be, all right, they're always investing resources, and it always seems like you're not getting the top dollar out of this. We'll also talk a little baseball, too, today, because I'm not going to say what happened last night. And I've seen this analogy, Tim, that, oh my gosh, surprise trade. This is just like the trade that sent Luka to L.A. No.
Not quite.
No, not at all. Like, Devers was not happy in Boston. You knew, like, at some point they were going to do something, but the question is, I guess from the standpoint of, that's all he got back? That's all you got back. You got Hicks, who's a good reliever. You get Harrison, who you're going to put in Worcester. You got some guy from rookie. Like, that's it?
They got out of a $250 million version of a contract, though, too. That's
not an albatross. Right now, is Devers a top 10 hitter in Major League Baseball?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so to me, it's not a bad contract then.
No. It is when you're only restricted to DH and you've got a bad attitude. Like if you don't want to be there and you're not a good teammate, it becomes a bad contract. Like, he's a talented player, absolutely. But if you're not willing to play first base, if you're not willing to be a teammate, then we got to get rid of you.
Something happened, but he's just not good defensively. And the thing is, like, he's not going to be playing third base in San Francisco.
Not when Matt Chapman comes back and is healthy.
Right, Matt Chapman's there. First base, okay. You could see him being first base DH.
But he's got to be willing, though, right? If he wasn't willing to do it in Boston, why would he be willing to do it in San Francisco? Other than they might treat him more nicely. But, I mean, bringing in Alex Bregman, he's a Gold Glover. Of course you're going to have the Gold Glover play third
Alex
base.
Bregman was, to the point, Tim, where, like, okay, they were talking. Bregman was ready to go to second base. I don't get the athlete who I'm getting paid, but I'm not changing my position. Really?
Bad teammate.
Like, honestly, like, you're getting the time, you're getting in the lineup, you're getting paid,
making $30 million a year. I think you're gonna play where we ask you to.
So I guess maybe we could trace this back to 2 years ago. Like, you didn't know the character of the player that you signed. Like you should know, like, the lifespan for a player at a certain position. Let's take the Mets, for instance. Pete Alonso's not long for this world at first base. I'm sorry. Like, I look at Alonso and I'm thinking, all right. And we're kind of like in a year-to-year thing with him, the way this is all kind of played out. But at some point, you're not going to pay. And the Mets recognize that. Like, no, we're not going to do this long-term. You're going to be a DH. All right.
There's a reason he was on the market for as long as he was.
Yeah, right. So that's it. And first base, if you had to say what is the position you could hide somebody on? Not that you're hiding anybody on first base, but
Right.
is first base like the position that?
Go there and cover it up as best as possible. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
not hide. You're right. That isn't the right word, but you can put somebody there and mitigate their flaws easily, more easy
Yeah.
in that spot than anywhere else on the field.
Yeah, like third base, no, you
Can't
can't
throw
hide.
a guy out in left field and say good luck.
Yeah.
First base is like, please just catch the ball.
Yeah, can you catch
Give
the
us a
ball?
scoop or two, and,
Yeah.
and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Boston was thinking 2 years ago. I know that as soon as they brought in Bregman, which they kind of can't get out of their own way there either. They didn't need to bring in Bregman. I mean, it's nice to be able to do it, but you didn't need to,
You didn't,
and
well,
it created a mess.
Yeah,
And they got nothing back for it.
It did, and you have an organization now, Tim, that to me they feel like a half step above the Rays. Like they got a lot of young talent that they might have rushed up a little soon. And the weird part of this is the timing. Like, oh, you swept the Yankees. Hey, we're above 500. Hey, we're the Red Sox, and we're heading out west. Nope. Rip that right off. They must have really wanted to get rid of him.
And they play one another sometime this week. I think it starts on Thursday or Friday. The Giants and Red Sox go at it.
Yep.
Devers gets a revenge tour immediately. So
Yeah,
that'll be fun to see.
Yeah, Red Sox are out in Seattle tonight. Shohei Ohtani will pitch one inning tonight, so that he's going to serve as the opener. And you got Giancarlo Stanton returning to the lineup by returning. He's making his debut for the Yankees tonight. We got some Bills talk coming up next. Andy Young from Spectrum will be joining us. You can reach us on the our X, the Fan Rochester is our handle, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. My name's Steve Battaglia with Tim Schneider here on the Sports Bar.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger. Rochester Sports Update.
It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight. Indiana and Oklahoma City tied at 2 games each. Rick Carlisle is the head coach of the Pacers.
Problems that hindered us in the fourth quarter were inability to rebound the ball, unnecessary fouls. Doing better in those 2 areas, that will help us, but it's a challenge. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on you in the fourth quarter. I mean, they've got some great players that cause major problems.
Rochester Red Wings losing streak. That's up to 12 games now. The team beginning a series at Lehigh Valley tomorrow night. Top prospect Brady House, he's been called up to Washington. Giancarlo Stanton making his season debut tonight for the Yankees as they'll be hosting the Angels. Shohei Ohtani will make his return to the mound tonight. He'll pitch 1 inning as the Dodgers take on the Padres. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, if you're somebody that covers the Buffalo Bills, I can't imagine a time that has just been kind of, more peaceful, more, oh gosh, there's nothing really salacious in the one storyline that we thought, oh, maybe this is something with James Cook. Well, that seems to be taking care of itself. Credit to James Cook on that as we welcome in Andy Young from Spectrum, who covers the Buffalo Bills, doing a fine job. Andy, appreciate your time today, and I guess let's just start there. I mean, did that take you by surprise that James Cook is going to kind of go about his business here in the final year of his contract?
Yeah, I was mildly surprised to see him on the first day of mandatory minicamp. I kind of thought it could go either way. But I did think there was a chance that he didn't show up. We've talked so many times that a player's leverage is to withhold services, to make their point known that they don't like their contract. And we've seen it time and time again with different players across the league. So this maybe was an opportunity for him to say, look, I'm taking a stand. But at the same time, Cook is a player who told us flat out, I like my money. That's why I'm here. He didn't want to get fined for missing minicamp practices. You'd expect that would probably be the same situation during training camp. So that does pour a little bit of the water on, is this going to be a big catastrophe for the Bills? There is still a chance that when we show up to training camp at St. John Fisher University in July, that Cook isn't there, or maybe he's doing a hold-in. But I don't expect that. I expect to see him out there. And, for a guy that wants to get a new contract, whether that's with the Bills or somebody else potentially, him putting his best foot forward might be the best course of action for him to, again, have a big season and prove his worth to the Bills or somebody else out there.
If there's a knock on James Cook, it's this, Andy, is that, he doesn't play all 3 downs. That maybe as a blocker, we saw some dropsies, not last year, but a couple seasons ago. And what worked last year was, that was the compliment. You bring in a Ty Johnson. You have a Ray Davis. Do you see the 3 pieces there, that running back room still working in unison the way that they did? Or, I don't know, maybe, is James Cook going to be satisfied? Because if I want to, make top dollar, I got to show everybody I can, do more things here on the field. Will he want more touches of the ball, in your opinion?
I think anybody would, right? Like, a receiver wants more catches. Running back wants more touches, more carries. But he has to prove to the Bills and gain their trust in that he can do those things on third down. We saw last season Ty Johnson get so many reps. He was the third down back. He's useful in pass protection. He's made big plays catching the football. Cook, while coming into the NFL out of college at Georgia, was seen as a receiving threat. That hasn't so much materialized. He's made some plays in the receiving game, but he's also had some drops too, and I think there's an opinion, at least from observers, that maybe he does struggle a bit in pass pro. But I think the Bills also have a bigger plan in mind too, that doing that and using a 3-headed monster kept all those guys fresh throughout the season. I mean, Ray Davis was banged up a little bit here and there, Cook a little bit here and there, but overall those guys were fresh, with Cook only getting 38-40% of the snaps or whatever. So we'll see if that pans out again this season. I think Cook would love to have more carries, but the Bills kind of like the way they're running things right now.
Yeah, if you go back a year in time, We even had questions about the offensive line this time last year. Like, okay, well, how will Connor McGovern be as a center? He'll be just fine, thank you. We didn't know about the receiving room. There were so many things we didn't know, and then maybe that's why people weren't as optimistic as maybe they are now. But with all that being said, Andy, there will be some jobs that are up here in terms of starters. What are some of the key battles as you're looking ahead here to July?
Yeah, I think the biggest one that we're going to keep an eye on, and it's the headliner, is cornerback 2, right? Christian Benford locked in. He's an ascending player, got the big money contract here in the offseason. He's on his way towards reaching like all-pro status, one of the better cornerbacks in the league. But how does that all play out across from him at cornerback 2 with Tre'Davious White back in the fold and looking pretty spry during minicamp, Dane Jackson back as well? You've got Jamarcus Ingram. And then, of course, the headliner of the entire group is the first-round rookie, the fastest man at the NFL scouting combine in Maxwell Hairston. So how that three-headed, four-headed monster all plays out and how the numbers game works out for the cornerback position, and just even how the Bills ramp up Max Harrison. Obviously, when you draft a guy in the first round, the goal is to eventually, at some point, have him be the starter, and you'd love that to be sooner rather than later. But the Bills have shown they've got some patience and some time to have trust built with rookies and young guys. And so I could see a scenario where, Hairston and Trey White split time, or Trey White starts the season, but Hairston could blow their doors off during training camp and just take the job outright. So that's number one on the list of things I'm going to be keeping an eye on during camp.
If you had to say a specific player, and I guess the number, your first round pick is always going to draw attention, but Andy, in my opinion, I mentally I had crossed off the Bills from even entertaining drafting a Maxwell Harrison. We knew the corner was certainly a need. We knew that, hey, that shouldn't surprise anybody. But for them to draft a corner with that skill set, where you're looking at the, maybe the negatives, okay, maybe tackling, maybe this, but in terms of big play ability, what is that saying about the Bills? What they may be looking for more out of their defense coming up here in 2025?
Yeah, it tells me they want the ability to play man coverage more often if they need to. We saw how that bit them in the butt during the Chiefs AFC Championship game. They just simply didn't have the horses out there to play man coverage when they need to, because Patrick Mahomes was just carving them up. And you're going to see that with different teams, with Lamar Jackson, with Joe Burrow potentially, these great quarterbacks in the AFC who, if you just sit back and zone and drop 7, they're going to pick them apart. So you got to create pressure with your front line. You got to have guys who can man up in the back end. And Hairston goes a little bit away from the archetype of what they've usually had. Like you mentioned it, strong tackling and bigger, rangy guys. This is a guy that's a little bit smaller, not tiny by any means, but he's a little on the lighter end, but he is blazing fast. And that added dynamic of playmaker, of a guy who is a ball hawk, that sort of player is not somebody that they've had recently. And I think that kind of shows a little bit of not change in philosophy, but just adding something a little different to what they've had.
Andy Young from Spectrum is our guest here in the Sports Bar as the Bills essentially on break here, and haven't seen yet sure we'll get that maybe this week, Andy, if not very soon, the training camp schedule here. And the one thing that's going to be different, we're going to have cameras following us around here. By us meaning everybody, I guess. When it comes to the players, the coaches, even the fans will notice. How do you think, if at all, will that impact the team and how they get ready and for the 2025 season, having the Hard Knocks crew out there?
Well, I know it impacts me directly because it says to me I need to lose a few pounds if I'm going to appear on HBO during these media availabilities. So I'm working on that now. That's always been a work in progress. But for the team overall, in all seriousness, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, are they going to be more bashful about letting themselves show their personalities, that sort of thing, during the meeting rooms and all that kind of stuff? It's just an interesting thing. I don't think they're necessarily looking forward to it, but it is what it is. They're going to embrace it. And a lot of that stuff is kind of controlled anyways. They know the storylines going in. HBO talks with the Bills media representatives and who's a good story to talk to, who's good with the media, who's, a plucky underdog that might be rising up the ranks during camp. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out and how much we are actually willing and able to pull back the curtain on what the Bills do in the offseason. They're not going to give away state secrets, but it will be interesting for fans to see a little bit more, I think, of what goes on in the meeting rooms and that sort of thing.
Yeah, one guy I'm sure they'll have to kind of talk about here a little bit because nationally, the Damar Hamlin story and Damar, here he is today. But when we're talking about camp battles, the safety position, and fill us in here, Andy, because I don't know who is strong and who is free, or purposely, I don't know if they're trying to, just keep those labels off there. But when you have Rapp, I would figure Rapp has one of those two positions. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then how would you assess everything else, including a guy in Derek Forrest that, came in from Washington that maybe has a shot at taking away some time?
Yeah, I think you can wrap up with a bow Taylor Rapp being one of your starting safeties. And they play it a little differently. They don't have as much of a traditional in-the-box strong safety and a deep free safety as maybe even you saw during the Micah Hyde-Jordan Poyer era, where Hyde was more of your free safety center fielder. Poyer played a little bit in the box, but those guys were kind of interchangeable anyways. And I think that'll continue. Rapp, they love. They love his leadership, the step forward he took last season. So I think you can pencil him in, probably put him in pen that he's a starter. But then, it's interesting after that. Cole Bishop, right? They want the second-round pick from last season. They want him to ascend. And Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane both have talked about how they like how Cole Bishop has come back and kind of ascended into a role of understanding the defense more. And that's really key, especially if you're going to be playing safety on the back end. You've got to know where your coverage is. You've got to know where your help is. You've got to know where you can cheat to come up and make a play. But then you've got Damar Hamlin back, right? And he played okay, as a starter last season. Got the job in camp basically because a bunch of other guys were hurt, and he never let go of it. And so I think that's an interesting part. I think Forrest, like you mentioned, he got some time during mini camp and OTAs as well, and he's an interesting player. So I think, that battle for the second safety spot will be interesting. I think ultimately the front runner in my mind would be Cole Bishop, but it wouldn't surprise me if he struggles at all to see one of those other two guys get in the mix.
Andy, of course, the Bills have the defending MVP in this league in Josh Allen, who, you're comparing year to year. He took that step forward, both on the field, and I thought as a leader, and here he is kind of, this offseason, exhibiting more of those traits. What does he do for an encore? Like, put it this way. If you're Joe Brady, what would you want Josh Allen to improve upon here in 2025 to even be better here?
Yeah, it's interesting because each year we talk to Josh Allen in the spring and he's asked, what do you like to improve? What have you been working on? And he kind of really does pinpoint a specific area each offseason where he wants to get better and improve. In years past, it's been communication and leadership. In years past, it's been cutting down on the turnovers. It's been accuracy. And for the most part throughout his career, he has fixed those issues. Look at last season. Way back on the turnovers. That's partly by his design. That's also by the offense's design. Now, what can he do for an encore? I don't know. I mean, the guy is great. He's fantastic. I guess to me it's, all right, do you get the yardage and the touchdowns through the air back up higher where they were a couple of years ago? Maybe that's the answer, but maybe they don't need that because he's still rushing the football so well. He did talk about kind of going back to the drawing board a little bit and tweaking his mechanics, his footwork, so that, bad habits don't creep in over time. We talked so much early in his career about his work with Jordan Palmer, the quarterback guru, to really fix his mechanics and his accuracy. And he said this season he's kind of focused on going back and just refining that, making sure it's in the right place.
I'm going to make one suggestion, and sometimes like in our business and fans and whether we have a storyline, we fixate on it, and then we're on to the next thing. And this is going back a few years, and the idea about taking Josh Allen, making sure a little more cautious when it comes to running. Now, the one play that comes to mind, Andy, is, hey, the Bills are down 14-0. It's week 1. And, and I don't know, we'll never know, like, how to the extent that wrist injury was for his non-throwing hand. But it served almost like as kind of a warning here. And I'm just wondering, it's not really necessarily an Allen thing. It's more of a Joe Brady thing. Like, when you have a weapon like Josh Allen, very tempting to run the ball in 3rd and 2. Very tempting to say, Josh, go out and do something and make it happen for us. But can they find ways to pick up those yards without having to put Josh in harm's way so often?
Yeah, and you talk about the tush push and whether there's actually any real injury threat. I know that was talked about a lot with guys. That may be more with the offensive line, but I think you're right. It's hard to say, okay, Josh, don't run because he's so good at it, right? And he has been durable even through some injuries with a wrist and with a shoulder and elbow, different things he's had over the course of his career. But as he starts to approach 30, that kind of stuff starts to pile up. So, yeah, maybe there are options outside of Josh Allen running the football, or when he does, again, to be less likely to bulldoze somebody or leap over somebody than he is to, slide, that sort of thing. But at the same regard, it's Josh Allen, and he's capable of doing amazing things, so you don't want to take that away too much. You just want maybe him to pick his spots even more, especially as he ages here.
Yeah, Andy, a couple more for you here on the Bills. Andy Young, Spectrum, joining us here. Before you came on, one of the topics we were discussing was the defensive line. And, well, you've got a lot of names on there. We certainly know them. Now you're throwing Joey Bosa in the mix. But can this Bills team get to where they want to go eventually without one of these guys having, a career year? We've seen it from Rousseau taking a step, but it's not quite there. Ed Oliver, we've seen some flashes, but it's not quite there. Joey Bosa, I don't know what to expect. Maybe there's somebody else on this defensive line, but is there somebody from this defensive line that maybe at some point next year you're an opposing offensive coordinator like, oh my gosh, we got to worry about game planning for that guy?
Yeah, that's one of the things that is, if there's a knock on Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott during this era, it's finding guys who are game wreckers on the defensive side of the ball. Very good players. You mentioned Rousseau and Oliver, different players they've had. Even Von Miller, that first season, the first half of the season before he got hurt, was playing very well. But they haven't had anybody that's going to be like, all right, this is a 15, 18 sack guy. He's going to TJ Watt, JJ Watt, all these different guys. Joey Bosa early in his career, right? These double-digit sack guys that are going to go make the big play and take down Patrick Mahomes. And so that's been one of the knocks against the Bills, and they've got to find that, because you can talk all you want about how, you force pressure and pressure rate and pass rush win rate. But at the end of the day, you still need to get the quarterback down, because it's all great if you rush Patrick Mahomes and flush him out of the pocket, but if you can't get him down and he still makes a throw down the field, well, what good was that, right? Especially against these great quarterbacks. So they've got to have one of these youngsters, whether that's Landon Jackson. I like him a lot. Whether that's TJ Sanders. One of these guys has to step up, even if that's Bosa through the injuries, to be that guy that's the it factor in big games, because too many times, especially in these playoff elimination scenarios where they've lost, the pass rush has really come up short.
Yeah, Andy, the video that went around, where do you come down on Keon Coleman in the basketball court? Yes, you're a great basketball player. I don't know. We've had other instances. Tim, who's on the show today, pointing out Aaron Boone once had his contract voided because he was playing pickup basketball. Andy, I don't need anybody getting hurt here in June and July.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you don't love to see that, especially some of these pickup games where you're playing against somebody that maybe doesn't know what they're doing, and he goes up for a dunk and the guy's in the wrong place and takes out his legs. That would be a really, really unfortunate situation. I mean, I saw it playing pickup basketball with a couple of UB football players a few years ago during a media game, and one of the guys was actually working out for the Chargers at the time, and one of the media guys kind of ran under him and undercut him a little bit, and that was a scary situation. So you don't want to see that. Keon, though, I mean, you got to be smart. These guys are going to do stuff in the off season. They're not going to just sit around and in cryovac chambers or anything like that either. So if you are going to go do those things, Keon, be smart about it, because the last thing you need is to hurt your wrist again or to blow an Achilles or something like that playing charity basketball games. But a lot of these guys do those kinds of things with their foundations or with their high schools, that sort of thing in the off season. This is their chance to kind of do a little bit of that stuff, but you got to be careful.
Yeah, Andy, let me sneak one last one in for you just to change gears here, because you don't only cover the Bills. You got a Sabres off season that is going to be right around the corner. I cannot wrap my mind around the fact that next week is the draft. I'm just so confused. And then July 1st, and then bam, all this news is happening. So what's our level of expectation for the Sabres? Is it, all right, keep the band together, if you took away the 13-game losing streak, blah, blah, blah? Are we seeing some big-time moves? Your thoughts on what's coming up here?
I feel like with the addition of Jarmo Kekalainen as an advisor to Kevin Adams, that's a sign that they need to be a little more willing to move on from their guys that they love. Because even though if you love a J.J. Peterka, or you'd love to have Bo Byram signed to a long-term deal. Even the moves that we saw earlier during the season, the trade deadline, that you've got to shake this thing up because for whatever reason, it hasn't been working, right? Yes, they had that 13-game losing streak, but, I wouldn't say it was great all around throughout the season. They were better at times without that. And if you take that away and you get, 4 wins out of that instead of, losing 13 straight, maybe you're in a different spot. I think with year 2 of Lindy Ruff, that'll help too. So you don't want to blow the whole thing up, but I mean, this is the do or die season to me for Kevin Adams. Like, if you can't get this team like really in that 7th, 8th seed in the playoffs, I mean, what are we doing here? This has gone on way too long. And then you got to really look to blow the whole thing up again. And I heard, Paul Hamilton say on WGR in Buffalo that, players are going to start to want out, right? Like, you've heard talk about Peterka being traded, Dahlin, who said he wants to be back and make this thing go. But eventually, how long does that last? How long can you hang on to these guys who just have known nothing but losing? So I would expect them to try to make some sort of swing this offseason just to shake things up, because even if you like the guys you have, it still hasn't worked.
Well, I really, honestly, like, when it comes to this Cup final, I'm not I don't care one way or another if it's Florida or Edmonton, but if it ends up being Edmonton, I just want to see this streak continue of Buffalo Sabres to hoist a cup. And I feel pretty good for Jeff Skinner, especially after some of the stuff that happened on if he got that chance to hoist the cup.
Yeah, I liked Skinner a lot when he was here too. He was a fun guy, and he's a goal scorer. And did he have some deficiencies? Sure, but time and time again, as you mentioned it, guys who either seemingly didn't want to be here or didn't perform their best here go on to other places and do really well. And some headliners. These aren't just bit players. Like, you're talking about Eichel and O'Reilly and Reinhart and Oposo, guys who were core players of this group over the last decade or so, going on and having success elsewhere. So, I wouldn't mind seeing the Oilers get it. McDavid is the best player in the game to my mind, and to have your best player finally hoist a trophy and put him on center stage, I think that's great for the league.
Andy Young, Spectrum. Andy, tell our audience where they can get more of your content.
Yeah, you can check me out at Andy Young TV on X. We've also got the Buffalo End Zone podcast with myself and Kevin Carroll, where we do weekly breakdowns of whatever's going on. So we'll continue that here a little bit through the off season. We'll take a little bit break before camp, and we'll get cooking again with the Buffalo End Zone podcast.
Who's your baseball team? Yankees, Mets, somebody else?
Yeah, you know what? I grew up a Guardians fan. They were the Indians at the time, now the Cleveland Guardians. And my love of baseball has waned a little bit in the last few years, but I still keep track of the Guardians and try to keep up on it as best I can. But, man, I just don't sit and watch baseball and keep an eye on the 162-game standings like I used to when I was in my teens and 20s, because I loved baseball. I played baseball growing up. The Guardians, the Indians at the time were great and could never quite get over the hump. But, just for whatever reason, my passion for baseball has really waned in the last few years.
Yeah, we only, like what I tell people, Andy, we have bandwidth. It's like there's only so much that can come in and come out. So appreciate the time, Andy. Thanks so much, and let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. Love doing it. Thanks, man.
Andy. Andy Young from Spectrum, our guest here. I got this question last week, like, hey, can you guys – and look, I'm always up for suggestions on the show, okay? This is not my show, okay? The airwaves, literally, we're governed by the FCC because they're public. It's you make suggestions. Why don't you guys talk more WNBA? And I'm like, I hear that, but – people are tuning in for the Bills, and when we get a Sabres off season, whatever else is happening. But like if Caitlin Clark is doing something, maybe we'll touch on that a little later on in the show. But it's just kind of a bandwidth issue. There's only so much you can get to. And if somebody says, yeah, I like baseball a long time ago, that's a common thing I've heard from people, Tim. Like, it's something that falls off the wayside as you get older.
Yeah, I'm certainly in the minority here. Like, I am a big time baseball guy, but I get that it's not really everybody's cup of tea. It's a long season. They're playing every day. It's tough to keep up with. If fantasy football you can do on a Sunday morning before kickoff, baseball you got to be all in on it all the time, and it's a tough sport to keep up with because it's 162 games long. It's not the same as football.
Right, and the passion and the energy of, hey, my team just won a game or we won a series. Like, if you live and die by that, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah, you're going to be mad 75 times a year.
Yeah.
That means you had a great year. You lose 75 games in a season and you're a playoff team. You're good.
Yeah, that's you can't do that. Now, like, okay, now you Get swept by the Rays. Okay, that's not ideal, but appreciate Andy Young and his insight, which we can react to. Our phone number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Let me just read one of the comments we got on X, this being from our guy Chris. I don't have a problem with Coleman playing in the DeMar Hamlin charity basketball game. He played basketball at Michigan State. The tones there. Look, to each his own. Like, and Andy said it. These guys are going to do what they're going to do. I mean, if you're on a lake and you're just having some summer fun and you're Naeem Hines, do you really think that somebody's going to broadside you while you're on a jet ski?
Career-changing incident there.
Career-ending. So, like, I guess you could step off a curb and hurt yourself. Like, look, there's any number of reasons. But you got to mitigate it a little bit. You don't want to.
Go out there and play pickup basketball. You don't need to drop 60 and make it a spectacle of yourself. That's the issue for me, at least. Like, go do what you got to do. Get your workout in. And if basketball is your way to do that, fine. Yeah. But like exposing yourself to injury is dangerous.
Can you imagine somebody at Brandon Bean's staff going in? Yeah, boss, I think you want to see this. Oh no! Whatever, thinking like it's your own team putting this on.
Tomahawk dunk and he breaks his elbow or something ridiculous.
That's just make it through. And also, Tim, let's acknowledge Tim Schneider's here today because Mike Danger's not, and Danger will be out a couple weeks. That's fine. We'll get the band back together here at some point. But whenever Danger's out, we get news.
Yeah, there's always something happening.
We're on news watch. I don't know what it's going to be, but it always happens. We will be talking to our friend Brian Koziel. He is the host of Tee to Green. Brian Koziel will be joining us next hour. You can join us, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. He's Tim Schneider. My name is Gene Battaglia, and this is The Fan, Rochester.
You're listening. W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight. Indiana and Oklahoma City. The series tied at 2 each. OKC forward Chet Holmgren. And what his plan is.
You got to play aggressive. You have to trust that playing aggressive over time will lead you and leave you in a better spot. But you also have to play smart. Playing aggressive doesn't mean, gambling and making risky plays. It just means, playing super solid, but, not kind of giving up the edge, I guess.
The Red Wings' best player, perhaps, the top prospect, Brady House. He's been called up to Washington. The Wings' losing streak now at 12 after getting swept by Jacksonville. Team beginning a series at Lehigh Valley tomorrow night. Giancarlo Stanton making his season debut tonight for the Yankees. They host the Angels. Shohei Ohtani making his pitching season debut tonight as he'll pitch one inning against the Padres. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I was not expecting a blockbuster baseball trade in the middle of June, but here we are. Rafael Devers is going to the San Francisco Giants.
What are you doing?
I mean, third base is my position.
It came after a sweep of the Yankees.
The Dodgers announced that Shohei Ohtani returns to the mound tonight against the Padres.
It's showtime! J.J. Spaun won the U.S. Open. He captures his first major title.
The NBA Finals is 2 games apiece. Game 5 is tonight.
The Stanley Cup Final.
Terrible time, Timmy.
Mike Danger.
Mike Danger's on vacation. What news will break during his time away? Very astute. Usually when I'm gone, that's when news breaks. Will the Mets endure a losing streak? Hey, let's hope that there isn't really any breaking news.
Gene Battaglia.
Joey is not a real name. Joseph and Joe are the names.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I don't think I'm going to jinx this, but you have a kid from Arkansas. How many outs is he away? He's 8 outs away from a perfect game here.
8 outs away, and he's also, I think, 14 strikeouts. So he's just dealing right now.
Gage Wood.
Fun to watch right now.
Yeah, I wonder, where he'll be going, I guess, in the draft or wherever.
He's on the radar now.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
He's got some moxie here. And they're playing the Murray State. Murray State was the Cinderella. They beat Duke, so you could say, all right, well, this is now them kind of, going back to the mean here, so to speak. So, well, if he gets it done or we get it done, then we'll keep an eye on it. But you and I were just talking, Tim. Tim Schneider in for Danger this week. You and I are the same. Put on the College World Series. We're going to be into this.
Yeah, I could watch this 24/7. You throw this on a marathon of baseball. I can dive into that with no problem. Not everybody's built that way, but I love me some baseball.
Yeah,
any level.
I think there's a lot of people who don't watch baseball that are giving takes on this Devers trade. You're not paying attention. The Red Sox didn't have to tell the world, hey, we're looking to trade here, our best hitter. The guy wasn't happy. The guy doesn't have a position. You have 8 years, so how much longer? And, oh, by the way, you entered the weekend with a losing record. And, yes, credit you. You swept the Yankees. It was some entertaining baseball for sure, which included, Aaron Judge knocking one out. But to me, that's not a surprise at all. I guess the one thing you could say is for the Devers trade, Tim, the return, that's it. That's all you could get.
Yeah, they retained the entire contract, the Giants did, so you're going to get less than maybe he's worth, but I think they just wanted to wash their hands of a mess that they kind of created themselves, Boston did. It'll be interesting to see how Devers reacts to the change of scenery. He's a supremely talented hitter. He's one of the best players in baseball, but if he's got a bad attitude and if it carries over to San Francisco with him, then maybe Boston did do the right thing.
It'd be funny, the Giants are the one team in sports that has had money. Hey, will somebody take our money? First it was Bryce Harper they were in on. Then, of course, the arson judge.
Yep.
Arson Judge is headed to the Giants. No, he's not. And then Shohei, of course, who ended up sticking. There's probably somebody else in that mix too, Tim, that I'm leaving out there. But the Giants have been left at the altar a few times. They're a team that they do play in a big market. They do have a ballpark that makes money, and it's They just didn't have that big bat. So now this makes it interesting. Giants and Dodgers, and it's baseball is one of those sports, though, that we love here in Rochester, I think more so than other cities compared to our size. But football is still king here. Football's still king, no doubt about it. We talked to Andy Young from Spectrum. He joined us last hour, kind of previewing the Bills mini training camp, reviewing the mini camp. And, if you missed that, you can just go to the Odyssey app, listen back in the 3 o'clock hour. That was fantastic. Tim, tonight we get Game 5, NBA Finals. If I'm Adam Silver, I am livid.
Why?
The guy doesn't work for me, okay, that if I'm Adam Silver, but you are our biggest media partner, being ABC Disney. And this has made the rounds. And in this day and age, it's like, okay, is this video real? And you first have to verify, like it's not an AI thing. Oh, no, this is real. And the video is this, that where they put the insider, like the halftime show, they don't do it in a studio when you get to the finals, right? They're kind of knocking out a little bit of a few rows, and they set up a studio right in front of the arena, so you have the backdrop overlooking. So when the action's going on, you have your talent, your guys there, they're ready to go to half. You're right there in the arena watching the game, or at least you think they'd be watching the game, because the video that somebody took is coming up from behind. There's Stephen A. Smith watching the game, you think, but then you look at his phone, and he's playing solitaire.
I mean, what else would you rather be doing during the NBA championship, playing solitaire? I mean, can you blame him? Crazy. And then he lied about it. That's what gets me. Is like he went on and defended himself and straight up lied about it being not during gameplay. Like, bro, there's a video of you playing solitaire during a fast break.
What are you doing? Right. Like, that's not doctored. That's you doing that. And, you get into this. Can we just acknowledge that those video games can be a little bit of an addictive? I recognize that, like a few months back, I'm playing too much damn Mahjong. I need to be doing other things that are productive. And you know what? I quit cold turkey. No more Mahjong. That's it. No more. I'm not even going to, like, once upon a time, I was big into solitaire or Minecraft. I don't know if you ever played that one. But if you're Stephen A. Smith, don't you have to have the self-awareness to know that
you're being watched at all times?
You're being watched at all times. And quite frankly, how inappropriate that is. Like, how many people are playing solitaire when they're on a Zoom call? They just kind of have their face and they're looking down at their phone or whatever it is.
Like, I'll fall into a euchre trap every once in a while. I try to avoid it because when I play, I will play for hours on end. But if you're playing solitaire as, like, one of the biggest names in sports commentary, you're at the NBA Finals and you're a name. Everybody in that building knows who you are. Why would you put yourself in a position to expose yourself like that, and then smugly say and lie that it wasn't during gameplay?
Oh,
like,
I know,
man, come on!
I know.
We're
You're feeding into this narrative that, hey, what are some of the narratives you hear about the NBA? Okay, I'll give you one. Maybe you've never heard this before. Maybe you have. Just tune into the last 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That is
game of runs.
Yeah, like it's a game of runs and whatever happens up into that minute. But here's why that's actually not true, because you actually learn a lot about the game and you can kind of figure out, and sometimes every game doesn't come down to the last 5 minutes, but that's one of them. Here's another narrative. Maybe you've heard this. This series is boring. This series, yes, Oklahoma City has the MVP. In Indiana, they have a really young, talented player in Halliburton. But you know what? No one cares.
I think that this is actually like a really entertaining series. It's just two cities that nobody's really enamored with.
Same.
Like it's good basketball, and I'm surprised of how good of a series or how competitive of a series it's been. All 4 games have been like comeback. I mean,
surprised from the Indiana standpoint.
They're making it a series. It's great.
Yeah, like game 1 where, okay, like this is Indiana, their worst shooting night. Where's that game 2? Game 2. Like, honestly, like I thought this would have been OKC in 5. And as we like to joke here in the sports bar, Tim, if you have a best of 7 and the series is tied at 2 games each, you can't say Game 5 without saying pivotal Game 5. Pivotal Game 5 because, well, you could have Indiana with a chance to go back home and win the title on their home court. Or you could have Oklahoma City just needing one of the last 2, so therefore it's pivotal.
That's science, man. You just explained it. I'm not a huge NBA guy, but I do like this series, and SGA is a superstar. I mean, there's no disputing that. Halliburton's really surprised me too. Like he's not consistent enough for me to consider him a superstar. But I mean, when it comes down to it, like crunch time, he's proven time and time again this playoffs that like you put the ball in his hands and good things are going to happen.
Yeah,
so it's been a fun series.
Also, I think hurting the NBA, and this is another criticism of the NBA that sometimes, quite often, the movement outside of the court, away from basketball, is more interesting than the actual game itself on the court. I'm talking about the player moves, and we have this big trade. Memphis sending a player to Orlando.
4 first-round picks.
Yeah, that's
more than they got for Doncic. I couldn't believe it.
Well, my point is, I like if you wanted to call in at 866-4FAN, 866-4326, and you say, hey, in a week East, that might make Orlando competitive. Okay, sure, you're welcome to call, but I just think that a league like the NFL, when it comes playoff time, all right, you can talk with the coaching cycle, but once we get to the weekend, we're freezing that.
Right.
Like, why doesn't the NBA have this rule when it comes to player movement? You can make a trade, but there should be some sort of dark period to focus all the energy on the final. We shouldn't be concerned all that much about the Knicks playoff. There should be time in the summer to get to all this, right? You should be completely focused. But what are the top stories in the NBA? Yesterday, was it previewing Game 5? No. It was whatever this Memphis-Orlando deal was. And then you have this report today that comes from Ian O'Connor that, hey, maybe the Knicks will get Jason Kidd after all, which seems kind of, dare I say, clickbaity to me.
The Knicks on Coach 6, and then you've got rumors and speculation about what Kevin Durant's doing. We're in the middle of the championship series, and we're talking about next season and other superstars. Like they've misdirected their priorities.
Yeah, the point is, Tim, too, that some of this stuff is just going to be natural. Like, we can't do this here in New York State. But if you are a sports book and you want more action, hey, where do you think John Morant's going to go? And then boom, 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 boom. And you might even hear some of that on BetMGM tonight. They do a great job. And look, that's just kind of human nature, right?
Right.
It's one thing for us on the outside to talk about Kevin Durant and John Morant and all this other stuff, but it's another thing for teams to actually engage in the trades right now.
Right.
To me, Silver's got to get kind of a handle on this. The model to me is the NFL, the way they control the storyline, and then when you get to March, sure, you get some trades and everything, and you hear about some stuff, but tell me you don't have a ball that first 24, 48 hours of the NFL offseason. It's just when you just get that avalanche of
the legal tampering window. They've mastered. I mean, to me, it's almost overwhelming, but the NFL has mastered everything that they've needed to do to control the narrative and the sports cycle year round. Like they've got it all figured out, and it drives me nuts because you get, like you mentioned earlier, the bandwidth. The football fatigue is a thing for me sometimes, but it's a thing because of how well they've done with controlling the narrative and making sure that everybody's always talking the National Football League.
Yeah, we were talking the bandwidth earlier with Andy Young because talking Bills, and it's kind of like I think when you get to the off season for a lot of guys that are on the beat, baseball is the one sport where you can, I don't want to say just kind of, fan maybe not is the right word, but you can watch it and not have any
investment.
You can
get caught playing solitaire watching baseball.
Yeah, you can. That's okay, playing solitaire in baseball.
Yes.
Actually, that's why they put netting up, because, everybody looking at their phone and you can't that foul ball coming at you is going to clock you in the head.
You got to be head on a swivel and paying attention at all times, but it's hard to do in today's day and age.
Yeah. By the way, that was my nephew at Innovative Field for a few years ago. Before they had the netting, he's walking back from his seat, has ice cream, bam, gets popped in the head, needed stitches.
That is
no, but it was one of those things like, okay, so it was this screamer coming back, and the Wings were just, they were very gracious, and it all kind of worked out and everything. But, look, I don't go to a game now and be like, oh, the netting. Once your eyes get used to it, it's not an issue anymore.
It took a year or so just to get accustomed to it because now you're just used to it. But that first couple of times, it's like, oh, this is not in the way. It's just different. Mm-hmm. But now that it's a thing in common across every baseball field in the country, I'm used to it.
Yeah. It's
weird in the grass, though. The huge pole that connects from left side to right side of the stadium, those are kind of cumbersome because they're just so big and blocking the way. If you're used to standing in the atrium area, you have to move now. But other than that, it's fine.
Yeah. You went to the few games this past week, right?
Yeah, I went to 3 during the Jacksonville series, and I went to a couple the Columbus series the week prior to that.
You just kind of you live over there if you could, right?
Yeah, I love baseball, and it's fun. I mean, I wish that they could pick up some victories here, but I mean, it's a fun weekday activity. There's always something going on at Innovative Field, too. They do a great job.
They do a great job. Team sucks, though.
Yes, that is, I think, an indisputable fact. I think they're sitting at 22-46 or something like that. And
would you
rather house the show?
Would you rather be the AAA team for Washington or the AA team for the Yankees?
AA. They've got better prospects, and the Yankees are everybody's team here. Not mine, but
right.
People would care. It's tough to be invested in the Washington Nationals.
It's tough. You want to be AAA because you want to be known as that city, right? But on the other hand, until the Nationals get an owner who is actually going to try to win, and when you try to win, that's when you kind of maximize dollars and everything else. They're going to be just on a hamster wheel with this team. How many more years? 7 more years, whatever it is?
Yeah, I think that's the agreement. But at the same time, Washington can, at any moment, it's an agreement, but it's really, we're at the behest of the Nationals.
It's a one-way ticket.
Right.
Yeah.
They choose. It's an agreement for 10 years, but it's really an agreement until they decide that it's no longer an agreement.
Well, the thing that they have going for them in Washington is this. They may have found their quarterback, probably did. They're on track, to eventually get a new football stadium. They have Ovechkin. They won a cup. They should be satiated, although that was, 7 years ago, somewhere around there. The baseball team won a World Series. I don't think anybody is like, oh, we suck now. We got to do something. There's other things down there that are going on.
They won a World Series and then bottomed out on purpose. And, I mean, the trade that they made with Juan Soto actually was fruitful, but it hasn't really produced results. So, I mean, James Wood is a superstar in the making. They've got a lot of other good players in that deal, but there's nothing else.
No, the first sign was letting Harper walk out the door.
Harper
walking
Scherzer,
out the door. Scherzer.
And that team was nasty.
Trey Turner.
Yep. I mean,
Anthony Rendon, laziest, not athlete, laziest human ever.
Hate my job, but get paid very handsome.
Yeah.
I mean, must be nice.
Must be nice. We love our jobs here.
I do.
Yeah. We've got our buddy Brian Koziel to join us here. We will talk a little golf. We'll sneak in some Sabre questions as well. Time for your calls on the other side of that. 866-4326-8664-FAN. My name is Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider here on The Fan.
You're listening to the and watch it become your personal sports commentator. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight. Pivotal Game 5. Indiana, Oklahoma City tied at 2 games each. Rick Carlisle is the head coach of Indiana on where to improve.
Problems that hindered us in the fourth quarter were inability to rebound the ball, unnecessary fouls. Doing better in those 2 areas, that will help us, but it's a challenge. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on you in the fourth quarter. I mean, they've got some great players that cause major problems.
Rochester Red Wings' losing streak is now up to 12 games. The team beginning a series at Lehigh Valley tomorrow night. Top prospect Brady House called up to Washington. Giancarlo Stanton, he's back with the Yankees tonight. He'll be in the lineup. New York opening a series at home against the Angels. Shohei Ohtani will make his return to the mound tonight. He'll pitch just the first inning. The Dodgers taking on the Padres. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Appreciate always when Brian Kosleo comes by the Sports Bar, and this timed out perfectly today because just getting off, playing a little scramble there today. Brian, whereabouts were you playing?
So we are at Craigburn. It's in East Aurora, and it's the first tee of Western New York. Mary Wilson, who, of course, Bills fans know the name of, the wife of late Ralph Wilson, the former owner, is kind of the lead contributor to run the event and the lead sponsor here. So really, really nice. And I'm sure there are kids that are participating in First Tee Western New York all across the region, including Rochester. So a great day to raise money for them, and on a really, really awesome course on a perfect day for golf. It was great.
Fantastic, Brian. Well, we won't keep you too long because I know probably there's, it's always fun when you're kind of wrapping up there. But Brian Kosleo, your host of Tee to Green. We lean on him when it comes to golf tournaments and certainly Sabres notes. And I got to sneak in a Sabres question before we wrap up. But let's start out here, Brian. I didn't expect to get so nostalgic on Father's Day, but here we were in a rain delay, and up pops the 2008 U.S. Open, and I'm explaining to my kids, we were babies back then. They didn't know what prime Tiger Woods actually looked like, and it was kind of a fun kind of trip down memory road. The 2000 U.S. Open, 8 U.S. Open, where does that rank on your all-time favorites, Brian?
Ooh, man, that is right near the top for sure. Yeah, it's funny. My son's 15, so that was 17 years ago. So he would not have seen that.
Oh.
He did get to watch the 2019 Masters with me when Tiger won, but he never really saw Tiger when he was at his best. And it was pretty cool to watch. I mean, to realize how many just epic moments there were, even just over the course of the kind of the abbreviated highlight version that they were showing there. Really, really amazing. Yeah, I mean, as far as U.S. Opens in my lifetime, I don't know. Would I put it 1? I mean, Tiger involved makes it dramatic, obviously. The fact that he was playing on literally one leg, with the fact that he had to have knee surgery after the event was over, him wincing after some of the tee shots, but the putts that he made, the chip-ins, the putt on 18 to send it to an eventual playoff on a Monday where he ends up beating Rocco Mediate, like just such theater, such stage, such, drama. And I was telling my son, I was like, look, I said, you know how Scotty Scheffler, like what he's doing right now? I said, Tiger did that. I'm like, Scotty's been doing this for what, like two and a half years? I said, Tiger did that for like 15 years straight and at a higher level. And he won like double the tournaments. And he did it with such flair and such, excitement. I said, people like, it was literally like a change in culture for golf. I said it was cool to golf now for anybody, any age, any gender, any race. Like everybody wanted a piece of Tiger Woods. And, that was definitely a really, really cool thing I think that NBC did yesterday to fill the time during the rain delay.
Yeah, it almost got me thinking, all right, I can, let's keep the rain delay a little bit more, not to the point where we got to, carry this over to Monday. Just the obvious follow-up here. What do you think is left, if anything, of Tiger Woods? Is it just, hey, I'm here and I'm going to play, I'm going to tee off at the Masters, and that would be it here at this point? What should be our expectation for Tiger when he gets healthy finally?
Yeah, I think we'll see him tee it up at Augusta. The challenging part of Augusta is that it's a harder walk. It's very hilly, but he loves it. He knows it. He's obviously had a ton of success there. Even things that might put strain on his back and things like that, like there is no rough like you saw at Oakmont at Augusta National. So I think as long as he's healthy, we'll see him annually tee it up there. I would think at Riviera, the Genesis Invitational, a tournament that's usually kind of in February, because he's the host of that. I think you'll see him play there. The Open Championship, if it's at a venue that he feels like maybe he has an opportunity to do well at, like St. Andrews or some of these other places, some of the maybe, not labeled tougher tracks, I could see him playing there. And you know what? I mean, if there are majors that he feels like it's at a course he's comfortable with, I could see it. I know that there's a couple events he really values, like the Memorial, that Jack Nicklaus's tournament and things like that. So, I mean, maybe a handful a season, maybe 2 to 3 majors, depending upon where they're at venue-wise. But, in terms of a regular schedule, I don't see it anymore. And it's his health, it's his age. And to think that, okay, he can be a threat to win anymore is probably, sadly to say, it's probably past. And, it's too bad. You wonder if he had not been derailed by injuries, what he could have been. If he never, ever got hurt, like what is his major number at? Is it 20? Is it 25? I think either of those are very, very easy debates to have because he was so dominant and so good for so long. And then he had that huge gap, and that was the end of it there. The 2008 U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, all the way through that 2019 Masters. I mean, if he doesn't get hurt, he's got another at least decade of at least age-wise what you'd consider to be at a spot where he could have performed well and racked up more wins and more majors. And we know he's got, he's tied with Snead for the most wins ever on the PGA Tour. That would have been shattered. Maybe he's, at 100 career wins by the time that's all said and done. So, but it makes us appreciate the moments for sure. And, for me, that has been someone that's been obsessed with golf their whole life, the fact that other people have now enjoyed golf with me that maybe wouldn't have bought into it or maybe not gotten into it at my age in my mid-40s, other of my friends that have joined it because they grew up watching Tiger Woods and said, hey, that looks like a ton of fun. I want to play too.
Brian, we've been talking for a few minutes. We haven't even talked about how we saw this kind of wrap up. And really, I don't know, not too often you see a guy shoot a 40 on the front 9 and actually end up winning. J.J. Spahn, now the 5th player to birdie the final 2 holes of the U.S. Open just to kind of win. And your thoughts on Spahn and, I mean, that read on 18, the video from Alan Shipnuck, the golf writer who was just right there. Brian, to me, that tells the story right there, just like how difficult a shot that was.
The slope on those greens, what a challenge all week, and it was on display on that last putt by Spahn. To shoot a 40, and let's face it, golf, you're going to get bounces, both good and bad. It felt like they were all bad for him in the early stages of his front 9. Even his best shot of the front 9, where he literally sticks it so close that it hits the pin, and then it goes off the pin, off to the side of the green, and then spins all the way off and all the way down, and miles. It feels like miles away from the green. Just terrible breaks. And he is a player that has said, that Players Championship, when he went to 18, had the putt to win, it just missed. Then he lost in the playoff to Rory. He said, I took a lot out of that. Like, look, I can be good. I can play with the best in the world. I can handle these high pressure moments that maybe he hadn't in previous years in his professional career. Man, how impressive. I mean, Oakmont is the toughest test in golf. The U.S. Open is the toughest tournament in golf. Not only does he go out and shoot a 40 and you feel like he lost it, he kept a mindset, I'm still in this. He even referenced Tiger. What would Tiger do in this spot? He even referenced that. And Tiger would continue to grind is what he said. And he continued to do so. And then all of a sudden his putter got hot. That's definitely the strength of his game is his putting. That was on display at the Players Championship when he finished second. Boy, some great putts down the stretch. Obviously the one on 18, it sets up a career moment. It sets up one of the greatest moments in recent U.S. Open history. And after the day where you're probably sitting there with a handful of holes left, I'm sitting there thinking, God, my brain is going bonkers here trying to figure out, like, who has the edge. Burns is, not happy because he's not getting a ruling, which, by the way, I disagreed with. I thought he should have gotten a free drop. His lead has evaporated, and he didn't handle it well. He took double bogey. McIntyre's closing strong. Scheffler, had he made any putts, could have been legitimately in the mix. You've got Carlos Ortiz and Terrell Hatton from LIV, who are both playing well. Adam Scott's such a great story if he could somehow get in there. And Burns, who was the best putter all week, you felt like he could still be a factor because he could drop a putt at any moment. So there were so many possible storylines playing out. But Spawn just became so likable because of how he able to handle some of the adversity throughout the rounds. And then for him to end it how he did, I mean, that's a storybook ending for sure. I mean, when we think about U.S. Open and there's, U.S. Opens previously, or I'm sorry, going forward, this is going to be one of those highlights. We see the Tiger putt at Torrey in 08, the Payne Stewart putt in 99, the DeChambeau shot at last year in Pinehurst out of the sand bunker to win. This is going to be one that goes right up there in the epic highlight reel of U.S. Open history.
Yeah, we're talking to Brian Koziel, Tee to Green, also the Buffalo Sabres radio network. On the other end, when we talked last week, Brian, we talked a little about Rory. I'm going to make a suggestion. I think the guy needs a break. I'm looking at some of these videos, reading some of these comments. Look, we go on vacation because it's fun, but sometimes whatever your profession is, you just need to step aside and kind of recharge because to hear this quote, I feel like I've earned the right to do whatever I want to do. I'm not taking that out of context. He's talking about, talking to the media. Well, that's true. Is it something you need to say? But even more kind of, I don't know, un-Rory-like is watching him, multiple times flinging not very much like for the code of the game of golf, Brian. Your thoughts on Rory and what's kind of happened here since he's won the Masters?
I think you're totally dead on. He needs a break. He needs a reset. As he even quoted about Mount Everest, he said, those that reach the top, he goes, sometimes I don't know if he said it or it was quoted about it. More people die on the way down than they do on the way up, because on the way up, you have this goal. You have this thing that you're reaching for, that you're persevering through. He finally made it to the top of Mount Everest, and now he doesn't know what to do going down. There has to be a letdown. And yesterday he did finally admit to that there is a letdown, that he's not in the right place. I'm glad he didn't yesterday start blaming the media again. I think it's very easy to throw that out there. I know he's not happy that his name was leaked when his driver didn't meet the specifications and, non-conforming. Ultimately, again, it's not an accusation of cheating, although I know to the public he might think that it's what he's being labeled at. Also, Scotty had the same thing happen to him, and the media really didn't run with that, so I know he probably was burned with how that went down. I'll remind him again, the media does not spec the driver. The USGA did. So while, yes, the media reported it, they didn't get the information. They got it leaked from somebody from the USGA that does those specs, and then, of course, a media member got it. Well, what are they going to do? Of course they're going to run the story. It's juicy news for the world's number 2 player who, turns the needle for sure. So while I understand why he's mad at the media, while I understand, he's probably thinking, why am I getting all this negative coverage? I just hit the pinnacle of my golf life and my golf career. I understand why maybe there's a letdown. I accomplished, he says it, I've accomplished everything I've wanted to in my golf career. Okay, great. I thought, to be honest, if you said predict Rory's next 3 months after the Masters, I would have said he's going to play freely, he's going to play aggressively, he's going to have fun, he's going to kind of play with that carefree attitude because, look, hey, if I don't play great, who cares? I just did everything that I wanted to do. I won the Masters. I won the Grand Slam. I'm one of the greatest players now labeled in the modern time here. I thought he would be loose. I figured he'd be happy. I figured nothing could bother him, when instead – it's almost the exact opposite. Like, you're sitting there saying, dude, you just accomplished one of the greatest feats in all of golf, winning the Grand Slam, and you overcame all this years of major drought to do it, and such an emotional scene at Augusta National on that last hole. Like, how could you be mad at anything in the world right now? But he obviously is not handling it right. I totally agree with you. I wouldn't, put it past him to take a break all the way up until the Open Championship. At that Royal Portrush, that's going to be a meaningful place for him because it's in Ireland. I mean, I think he should take an entire month off, reset, refocus, come back with a great frame of mind, and carry yourself like a golf ambassador like he's supposed to. Rory knows the power that he has speaking through the media to the public, and I think he's come off very, very poor here over the last few weeks, blaming the media and then, throwing clubs, smashing tee markers. Like, that's not what Rory wants to be known about. He knows it. He's not handling it well. If I was advising him or if I was his agent or his PR person, I'd be like, buddy, this is just not acceptable. Like, you are one of the great players of all time here in the game. This is not how we compose ourselves. Like, I don't think he's done a very, very good job at all of reaching the top of Mount Everest and handling it coming down. In my opinion, it's been very, very poor.
Yeah, Brian Koziel, just a couple more. You mentioned Royal Port Rush, and we always kind of focus on the next major. Brian, tell us a little bit more about this course for the final major.
So Royal Port Rush hosted Opens for a while, back in the day, and then it was out of the rotation, and it kind of, they had to do a renovation of it, got it back up to now hosting big tournaments like the Open Championship, and they brought it back in 2019, and Shane Lowry ended up winning. That's his only lone major, and boy, what a spot to win for him, for the Irishman. So this is a course that is a bigger venue than some of the other Open Championships that are more of the older courses, kind of a little bit more space in between holes, but it still has that traditional kind of link style look. The Open Championship, we know, rotates amongst about, 8 or 9 courses or so, and you've got to be able to hit all sorts of different shots, and the weather really determines ultimately in the end how difficult the course is going to play. Unlike the U.S. Open, where they say, hey, we're going to try to get even par be the winner. And boy, they came damn close to getting that. Spawn's miracle putt doesn't go in, and it's even at the end there. I think that, I like the attitude about it. They're like, look, if the weather's bad, then +2 wins. And if the weather's great and -20 wins, that's okay too. But it's going to be at a venue for McIlroy that I think you would think if he's ever going to be in a good vibe, that's a spot to be in. It's the final major of the year. The Scottish Open's the week before that, so if he wants to play to get a little tune-up, that'll be an opportunity for him to do so. But Lowry's had a great year. I was very surprised of how poorly he played at Oakmont. Robert McIntyre, who we know finished second, and by the way, how could you not love Robert McIntyre's reaction? He's sitting in the clubhouse watching Spawn's putt on 18 and claps and kind of says, well done. He earned some fans right there if you weren't a fan of Robert McIntyre already. Those guys are definitely going to be in the mix, I'm sure, but guys that can play in all sorts of conditions and different weather. And, I think Scheffler obviously would be loving to add to his major list here. He hasn't won an Open Championship. He hasn't really been a major factor in Open Championships. So we'll see if he can adjust his game to maybe give himself a shot to really cap his year and get his second major of the season.
Brian, last one, and boy, gosh, next week it's the NHL draft already, and then July 1st, we're 2 weeks away from essentially. I'm of the opinion with a new manager coming in. All right, let's shake things up a little bit. Are my expectations a little too high when it comes to the Buffalo Sabres off season coming up?
I think they have to have a very, very active postseason. Kevin Adams, to me, is very fortunate that he's still the general manager of this team. Now, Terry Pegula has brought in 2 guys to help him with that as an advisor and as a senior advisor. So I think, there are easy steps that if you want to make a change at the general manager position or move Adams to somewhere else, you can do so, because there are people that are already now in-house, that are already getting paid, that are already sitting in the same room as Adams. So if Pegula wants to pull the trigger on Adams early next season, I think he'll have the opportunity to do so, which is why I think the pressure is on Adams this year. He knows that he has to do something with this lineup. J.J. Peterka, the latest rumor, maybe he wants out. There are players that the Sabres could definitely move that have value. Peterka would be right near the top of the list. I know Alex Tuck's contract is going to be an issue here. He'll have 1 year left. He can be renegotiated on July 1st. I think Tuck is a valuable piece, not only because of his skill, because of how good he is on both sides of the ice. He's tremendous, one of the best penalty killers in the NHL, but because he has vocally said that he wants to be here, he wants to be the leader of this team. He's always grown up a Sabres fan, growing up in Syracuse. There's not a lot of players in the league that say, hey, I want to sign up to be a Buffalo Sabre. Alex Tuck's one of them. I think that has to be a priority for him to take care of re-signing it. But the Sabres have prospects. You guys know from Rochester, the Amerks are loaded. They've got players in juniors and in college. They've got a lot of draft picks, too. Adams has to use them. He may not be around for next year's draft. He may not be here to see some of these players from the AHL or from juniors come up and play if they don't win now. So to me, if I'm Adams, I'm utilizing all of my prospects and all of my picks and maybe somebody like J.J. Paterka or maybe somebody like Owen Power to move and kind of do a little what I would call a mini reset in order to get this team into the postseason. Because if they get off to a bad start, I think Kevin Adams is done as GM.
Brian Koziel, Tee to Green, Buffalo Sabres Radio Network. Tee to Green, where are you guys this coming Saturday, Brian?
So we are at East Aurora Country Club, actually not too far from where I'm standing right now. They are hosting the International Junior Masters. It's the oldest running junior invite tournament in the country. And I'll drop one name. Trevor Immelman, of course, Masters champion, CBS lead analyst. He played in it and won it in the 90s. So they've had a lot of players from Canada play in it. Mackenzie Hughes, Corey Connors, they've played in the event. So definitely some players that have went on to have some nice professional careers. But basically 18 and under in this junior tournament at East Aurora. We're going to be there to obviously talk a lot more about the U.S. Open, but we're going to preview the event as well. 7 to 8 WGR and on the Odyssey app.
Brian, you're the best. Thank you for giving us some time today, and let's catch up in July. So thanks again, Brian.
You got it. And if any exciting Sabres stuff happens, we'll talk even before that.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanks, Brian.
Okay, have a great day.
You too. Brian Koziel, who, as Dangerous says, SUNY Brockport, joining us on the show. Gage Wood, no-hitter.
That was an awesome performance. 19 strikeouts.
19 strikeouts. Now, this was over Murray State, the Cinderella. They're not out because it is double elimination. What was it, a hit batter that kept him from the perfect
There was
game?
a hit batter in the 8th inning, and there was another hit batter in the 9th inning that was overturned and turned into a strikeout because he leaned into it. So, yeah, he made a name for himself today. He's a top 50 prospect for this upcoming draft. I think he might have just vaulted himself into the first round there. That was a phenomenal performance.
Well, what I liked about it, too, because for baseball, here's the thing. Years ago, you had Jose Bautista with a walk-off homer, and they beat the Rangers. It's a playoff game, and he flips the bat, and there's emotion. Can't do that, and the next year you're throwing at Jose Bautista. I like emotion in baseball. And if you're going to throw a no-hitter and strike out 19 in the process. This guy was like leading like the charge. He's pumping his fist up afterward. I mean, he made a name for himself the way he kind of celebrated after today, too, and I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah, that was a show. It keeps them alive. It ends Murray State's season, and that was an elimination game.
Okay, so they already lost. My apologies.
I mean, but that was something, a sight to see. 19 strikeouts, an absolutely dominant performance. In a must-win game, and again, like he was a regarded prospect prior to this. National spectacle, man. That's a first-round pick now, I think. Gage Wood.
Yeah, he looks more like a football player than he was on the mound too.
He's got that SEC football body.
Right,
yeah, Gage Wood just made a name for himself. The third no-hitter in College World Series history, and damn near a perfect game. A hit batter to lead off the 8th inning, and that's the only blemish. No hits, no walks. One hit batter and a 19 strikeout performance in a must-win game. Like, that was unbelievable.
We'll get to happy hour here coming up in the sports bar, which means that's you. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We've had a fun show here today. We'll talk some Bills. We'll talk about Game 5 here tonight as well. We'll talk some baseball. A lot coming up here in happy hour. My name is Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider here on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Game 5 tonight, the NBA Finals, the pivotal Game 5. Indiana and Oklahoma City tied at 2 each. OKC forward Chet Holmgren on what the plan is.
You got to play aggressive. You have to trust that playing aggressive over time will lead you and leave you in a better spot. But you also have to play smart. Playing aggressive doesn't mean, gambling and making risky plays. It just means, playing super solid, but, not kind of giving up the edge, I guess.
NHL Cup Final begins tomorrow night, Game 6. Red Wings losing streak is up to 12 games. Team beginning a series at Lehigh Valley tomorrow. Top prospect Brady House has been called up to Washington. Tonight we'll see Giancarlo Stanton make his season debut for the Yankees as they host the Angels. Shohei Ohtani will make his season debut on the mound. He'll pitch just the first inning, the Dodgers facing the Padres. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I was not expecting a blockbuster baseball trade in the middle of June, but here we are. Rafael Devers is going to the San Francisco Giants.
What are you doing?
I mean, third base is my position.
It came after a sweep of the Yankees.
The Dodgers announced that Shohei Ohtani returns to the mound tonight against the Padres.
It's showtime! J.J. Spaun won the U.S. Open. He captures his first major title.
The NBA Finals is 2 games apiece. Game 5 is tonight.
The Stanley Cup Final. Terrible time, Timmy.
Mike Danger.
Mike Danger's on vacation. What news will break during his time away? Very astute. Usually when I'm gone, that's when news breaks. Will the Mets endure a losing streak? Hey, let's hope that there isn't really any breaking news.
Gene Battaglia.
Joey is not a real name. Joseph and Joe are the names.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
There's always an exception to a rule, and there's always an exception to a take. Welcome back to the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with you. Danger's out this week. Riding alongside, I don't even want to say shotgun because you are a partner. Tim Schneider here, buddy.
Happy to be here. Glad to be able to do it. It's always fun.
So the take I've had is like no hitters aren't special anymore in baseball because they happen too frequently. A lot of them are kind of by committee now. So it's like, okay, we're used to be kind of a big deal. Perfect games, okay, big deal. Majors, no. This is special what happened today. Number one, it's in the College World Series. Number two, hadn't happened for 65 years in the College World Series. Number three, dude went all 9 innings and struck out 19. Ladies and gentlemen, your introduction to Gage Wood of Arkansas mowing down Murray State today.
That was one of the most dominant performances I can remember on a baseball field. And again, that was an elimination game in the College World Series is not just some random weekend game on the non-conference schedule out in mid-March. That was with the season on the line. He showed up and put on an absolute masterclass in what was an elimination game. 9 innings, 19 strikeouts. The only base runner was a hit batter to lead off the 8th inning. That was about as perfect as you can get without being perfect. Like no walks, no hits, 1 hit batter, and again, 19 strikeouts in a game in which your season is on the line. You just became a first-round draft pick, Gage Wood.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that we are in, admittedly, the slower time. I mean, if you want to talk about Micah Parsons and how he kind of, had a witty comment to Jerry Jones, hey, it's going to cost you more if you wait. That's absolutely true. If you want to talk, about the NBA Game 5 tonight, absolutely. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. When we have Bills news, we're going to kind of lead with it. Now, is it Bills news or is it kind of a Bills take? This isn't Bills sanctioned, but there's only one thing you want from now until the start of training camp. Everyone stay healthy. Okay? It's a league where one of the top defenders one time thought it'd be a good idea to do his own homemade fireworks show and blew off part of his hand, okay? That happened. It's a league where, hey, your third down running back in Buffalo, yeah, he ripped up his knee on a jet ski. These things happen, some by accident. I feel terrible for Naeem Hines. I know that Keon Coleman is a great basketball player. There was a charity event. I guess that's where we kind of started. Charity event for DeMar Hamlin doing this. And he got Deion Dawkins to come out, and you had Steph Diggs. You had a lot of money raised, and I guess that's a good thing. But usually when it comes to charity events, and Brian Koziel joined us last hour, you do it on a golf course. Okay, like if you have athletes that are kind of primed and in time now, it might be fun to play basketball, but I just want to put my hand up in the air and say, no, let's not risk anything. Keon Coleman is a big part of the Bills' plans. You may not think that, but by the Bills not spending a premium draft choice in the draft, that they believe that Keon Coleman can step it up to another level. So I don't want to be like old man yelling at the clouds saying, don't do that, kids. But I wish, just be careful here, guys, like going out there.
Yeah, I don't have a huge issue with it. I do think that it's pertinent to be careful and mindful of what could go awry. I mean, we've had guys, Aaron Boone, 20-so years ago, had his contract voided for playing pickup basketball. If you get hurt on your own time, you put yourself in a bad spot. You hurt your team. Again, I think these guys are supremely athletic. They have a handle on what they're doing. But a freak accident on a basketball court is much more likely than on a golf course or a softball field. Maybe don't drop 60. Get your 30 in and get off the court and let somebody else have some fun.
Yeah, that's really kind of your Bills take today. Is we had a fun conversation in hour number 1 with Andy Young from Spectrum talking about what's coming up, and we still don't have the camp schedule. I would anticipate it's going to be the same as in years past, which would mean Thursday the 24th would be the day you would see them. Again, that's not official. That's just me going off of schedules from years past. And Tim, when I look at this Bills team, where is the weakness?
The defensive side of the ball still has some question marks. This team is so good, there's not really a weakness. There's just questions.
There's questions. Like when you want a championship team, you need somebody at all times on the defense that you've got to account for. And the Bills really don't have that.
They have a lot of good players and not enough superstars on that side of the ball. Like Josh Allen's the guy on the offensive side of the ball. He's going to drive down the field damn near every time he gets the ball. He's going to put points on the board. And offensively, the Bills have no problems.
Well, you need, if we're just talking top shelf talent as compared to peers, all right, guys that could be all pro. And the definition of all pro, Tim, is you're the best at your position. Matt Milano was an all pro. Tre'Davious White was an all pro. But at this point, they're kind of at the end. And when Danger's with us, he thinks that Dorian Williams should see more time than Matt Milano. I disagree, but maybe over the course of a season that I'll be proven wrong on that. The point is, who are those guys? Well, Josh Allen's one. Christian Benford is another. We could debate on the offensive line, like should Deion Dawkins be considered? Like the line as a whole, I'm just going to say, all right, there's no concerns there. But there's opportunities elsewhere on this team for guys to step up and bring their game to another level. I look at Dalton Kincaid. I look at the aforementioned Keon Coleman. But then when you look at the defense, Tim, it's everywhere. Greg Rousseau, fine player in many areas. He's not an A+. I think he has the ability to take his game up to another level where you have to account for him as a pass rusher. Ed Oliver's just been so spotty, and you can point to, well, he played his best ball when Daquan Jones was right alongside him. And, well, if you can get Walker or some of these other kids, Sanders, somebody on that defensive line to be the running mate with Oliver and let Oliver do Oliver things, okay, I think that would be kind of good. I'm so excited to see Maxwell Harrison. Maxwell Harrison as corner 2, who's going to see volume. You're going to be targeting this kid. If he ends up beating out Tre'Davious White, and guess what? If they say all things are equal, you're going to go with the kid over Tre'Davious White.
Right.
I think he's got the ability to make big plays. This Bills defense didn't make splash plays last year. They didn't get to the quarterback and when it mattered most in the postseason. It was a defense, Tim, that gave up 40-plus points in back-to-back games in December to the Rams and the Lions. Two very good offenses, but that's not a formula for a Super Bowl winning team. So as I'm saying that, hey, where is the weakness on this team? There isn't one, but I'm talking about weakness in as it pertains to winning a championship.
Yeah,
and like the things need to happen. Guys need to take their games to another level in order to get to where they want to be.
The 11 that you've got on Buffalo's defensive side of the ball is fine, but somebody within that group has to come out and maybe not even necessarily be the leader on the defensive side of the ball, but somebody has to be a difference maker. You can't have 11 solid guys. You have to have somebody out there, and that could be Ed Oliver. It could be Greg Rousseau. Hell, it could be Max Hairston. There's options within this defense. You just have to figure out which one is going to take the lead and that role and run with it and kind of quell the questions that we're asking now. I mean, in July, June, it's fun to talk about. It's fun to wonder. But come September, you have to have an answer. And we'll figure that out eventually. There's still 3 months before it really matters. But somebody out of this side of the ball has to come and either progress or grow into something that wasn't on the field last year for this team. And that's why they didn't get to where they ultimately wanted to get to.
Yeah, it's and it could just be as simple as the offense gets even more efficient and you're putting the opposing team in different, that phrase "complementary football," Tim, gets thrown around. Maybe it's just the simple fact that, I don't think the special teams were all that great for Buffalo last year. They really weren't.
No, there's a lot of questions there.
So
is Bass gonna figure it out? I mean, how many more years does he get, or how many more chances does he get?
No, to be fair, I think he did. After he nailed that 60-yarder in the first Sunday in November to beat the Dolphins, I think after that, it's just everything else when it came to the coverage. And, they fired their special teams coach. So, that's one thing where maybe they could improve. By the way, congratulations to Sean McDermott. And it's one of those, you're a proud dad, but he's very private.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that. His daughter played softball for Orchard Park, and they ended up winning the state title. And he just posed for a picture with his daughter. So
pretty cool moment for somebody that really doesn't keep his personal life in the public at all whatsoever.
No.
So it's cool to see.
Yeah, that's it, and rightfully so. You want to let your kids be kids, and can you imagine what it's like to grow up and you're privileged. You're the coach's daughter. Oh, you're on the team only for you got to let them carve their own way, and that was actually kind of cool to see also, because part of me actually feels bad for these guys and the sacrifice, meaning the coaching staff, not just in Buffalo, wherever. You miss a ton.
You miss a lot. You don't get to do a lot of things. And looking at it from the kids side of it, sure, their life is awesome. It's unique. It's different. But they don't really get the childhood experience that most people get, as far as where's your dad?
Well, okay, so here's my theory on that. All right. And it's not really when it comes to McDermott, and he's doing great. McDermott last year took a day off from training camp to go watch his son play because they were playing in the, I believe it was down in Cooperstown. But it's one of those, absolutely. Go be a dad. And it sets an example actually for everybody else in the organization. That's where it starts. It starts at home. Not to get all preachy and everything, but here's the point I was going to make, because if there's one thing with the Washington head coach. Why am I drawing a blank? Joe Gibbs. And then Bill Belichick. Joe Gibbs overcompensated by putting his kid on the coaching staff and then getting involved in his kid's racing team. It was I missed a lot of time, and now I'm going to be, the dad, and come work with me. Here's our job. Andy Reid. Kind of the same thing, right? Put his kid ends up committing a crime. I don't have to say allegedly. That actually happened. Right. So he's out of the league. Bill Belichick. How did Steve Belichick get a job? Well, come work with me. We didn't spend a lot of time together. I mean, it all adds up, right?
Yeah. But it is, again, it's cool that You get this, like, they're athletes. You know, like Sean McDermott's not. He wrestled. He's played football. I'm assuming the daughter isn't just on the roster because she's got a last name. Like, it's an athletic family.
Yeah.
Genetics are real. So it's a cool moment, and it was a fun thing to see, especially on Father's Day, to have that all play out.
The only thing, like, locally that I can kind of draw was this was last spring, Tim, where I was up in Hilton. And my son was in, they had a regional meet there, right? And think about those meets. You're there for like a full day to watch a minute or two, maybe longer if it's a distance event. But all of a sudden there's this chatter. I look over. I'm like, son of a gun. There's Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey, who he was the Bills' offensive coordinator. Remember, gets fired after a Monday loss to Denver. Too many men on the field, but let's fire the offensive coordinator. I digress. He was now hired in Cleveland, so therefore he didn't have to move his family. His daughter was running for Orchard Park, so he was there, in the spring to support his daughter. And to everybody in Hilton that day, they left him alone. Either that or they didn't know. I mean, like, right. You're a Bills fan, like, oh gosh, there's Ken Dorsey is right here. Yeah, but
they're still a human being. Like,
you're a Bill. Yeah, you don't want to go
do
up.
their thing with their kid and say, hey, I know that guy, but that's it. Like, leave it there.
Yeah, you're not chumming or like, hey, welcome back. No,
guys, there for the same reason that most of all of you are, and we're all just a little bit more notable, I guess. So, yeah, fun moments when you see people like that doing regular human stuff.
It is a light night in the majors, Tim, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 games, and I'm going to say there are 4 storylines of these 7 games, okay? In these 7 games, I'm going to pick out 4 storylines. Let's talk about this scintillating matchup between Colorado and Washington tonight. What the Washington manager said was unbelievably dumb. I will get to that in shots here a little bit later on, but the story being that, hey, we're the Nationals. We're not very good. Time to call up house. So they called up the top player on the Rochester Red Wings, top player in the good luck. He'll play third base for the Nationals. And the take is this. Last year we were kind of fooled because you had Wood here and you had Dylan Cruz, and it was a lot of fun.
Right.
This Nationals organization sucks. They are brutal. This is why they couldn't hook up with anybody better than Fresno. And when Fresno went up and we were left without a dance partner, okay, come on in. And we thought we could make this work because, hey, Washington's a big market. Hey, they won a World Series. Hey, that can't be all that bad. If you like your Red Wings baseball with some W's, sorry. And I'm not talking about the curly W they put on their head. This organization, again, sucks. 12 straight losses. How many 2 years ago, Tim? 21?
I
Are
don't
we going
recall the
for
number,
that?
but it was so many.
It was, yeah. And at this point, it's not credit to the front office. It's not relevant. It's, hey, it's the food. It's the fireworks. Hey, you know what? The weather's nice in Rochester. Go outside. That's really the product there. Because, gosh, could you imagine if they actually had a product on the field? I could tell you, it was this time last year. I saw Garrett Cole and saw 13,000 actually go out. And that was baseball related.
Yeah, this is a fun city for baseball when things are going well. But right now, like, just the marriage between the Red Wings and Washington Nationals just isn't working, and there's really no future or promise. And that's the frustrating part, is we're kind of stuck in baseball purgatory. The front office that the Red Wings have is next to the best. There's nobody better than Dan Mason and his staff and crew. But the product on the field is abysmal, and they've won 1 game in June, and it was June 1st. It's June 16th now. They've lost 12 straight games, and it's been hardly competitive. They lost the other day 18-0 and got 1 hit. What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing? Right. And then, they blow a lead over, it's bad. So that's story 1. And then you're not investing any time with Colorado, Washington. You shouldn't. A game you will invest time with, the Yankee fans, hey, you get Giancarlo Stanton back. He's 35, Tim. This is like, honestly, this is the hope. Something just is a little off with the Yankees, and I think Yankee fans kind of recognize it. The bullpen has been Devin Williams wasn't what you hope, but that's not your top problem. The top problem is just the lineup top to bottom. And unfortunately, Stanton comes in, and he can't do anything other than DH, which means, all right, then what do you do with Ben Rice? It's just a Yankee team that has just been a little spotty. They get swept by Boston. Stanton was fun last year, 27 homers, but here's the thing with Giancarlo Stanton, and I know this from having played fantasy baseball for so many years when he was a Marlin, right? He is the streakiest player in the game. So he is somebody, Tim, that if he comes out tonight and goes 0 for 4, I would be concerned, actually. Well, it's only the first game. Or he's going to come right out. And the way he was playing in AAA, maybe it's the latter. Maybe he comes out and you're playing the crummy Angels tonight. So Stanton tonight, that's another storyline, not your lead story here. Got another one for you. And again, you got to stay up late for this, but this is going to be on MLB Network, so at least the Dodgers are doing you the courtesy of not letting the guy close, just letting him be the opener. How do you go about getting Shohei Ohtani starts on the mound? Anybody else, you would send him down to the minors, right? Make sure that you're ramping him up. Can't exactly do that now, can you? Because you need his bat, too. So Shohei Ohtani tonight will lead off and pitch the first inning.
That'll be really fun. It's been almost 2 full years since he was on the mound. This will be his first start with the Dodgers. And again, like you mentioned, you can't really send him on a rehab assignment because he's batting in the majors at an all-star level. We get 1 inning, maybe 2, and we see where it goes. But Ohtani back on the bump, first time with the Dodgers, and he's the MVP for a reason. Let's see the other side of it now.
Yeah, that should be fun. And the Dodgers, hey, they got competition. I'm not just talking about the Padres. Like how are the Giants good? Well, they've got really good pitching, the third best ERA amongst starters in the majors. That's always a good place, in a pitcher's park in particular. But their lineup right now needing the big bat, let's go get a bat. So the Giants, to kind of review, they're the team that said, hey, will you take our money, Bryce? No. Hey, will you take our money, Aaron? It's arson. No. Hey, will you take our money, Shohei? No. No. They went out and they traded for a big bat, big contract too. Devers getting bumped. People that are surprised by this trade were not paying attention. Devers was miserable in Boston. Devers, who just signed 2 years ago, not happy about the position. And if you're the Red Sox, and if you can find somebody to take the whole contract, it's like, how do the Red Sox? I think the Red Sox kind of view it this way, Tim. Their timeline isn't now. They've got all these kids up from Worcester. See who kind of pans out. Maybe next year you take the money there and you go spend it on, who's the outfielder? Kyle Tucker?
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yep.
Tucker, he's with the Cubs now. Like, could the Red Sox? But then if you're a Red Sox fan, why would you even lead? Maybe I'm being delusional here. Like, nothing leads you to think that they're actually going to go spend money for. You could buy an Alex Bregman on a shorter contract. Does this trade say more about the Red Sox or the Giants? I think it says more about the Giants, because I think Devers is actually really good. He is a top 10 hitter in this league. And if I'm the Yankees or any other team, the Red Sox aren't trading with the Yankees, but where was everybody else on this? Apparently the Padres were in on this too, and so were the Braves.
The Braves and the spot that they're in right now is kind of surprising to me. The Padres are always in on everybody, kind of like the Giants, but nobody ever ends up there.
Yeah.
And with that being said, the return being what it was is now even more surprising, because they're fine players, but they're not all-star top 5 at your position in a hitter.
Hicks seems like a guy that
you can throw 105, but we don't know where it's going.
Well, he's a guy that, come trade deadline, if the Red Sox are below 500, maybe they flip him. Like, that's a bullpen arm. Like, okay, maybe we'll get a prospect out of this. Don't be surprised that could happen. And then Harrison, who I believe was supposed to start for the Giants last night, and then all of a sudden, no, I'm sorry, we're going to send you to Boston. Oh, but yeah, we're gonna send you to Worcester.
Yeah, that was a surprise too. He was a pretty highly regarded prospect a year or two ago, and he hasn't really made the jump from AAA to the majors. There's something there. If it works out for him, good. But all told, Devers is one of the top 10 hitters in the sport, and the return back to Boston is not what Boston fans probably expected it to be. One, even in a position to trade the guy. Two, getting back what they did and it being a little bit underwhelming, probably pretty frustrating. And all they really did was wipe their hands of a contract that I think they came to instantly regret. And he's going to put up numbers for the Giants.
Yeah.
It's crazy, though, that Boston has gotten rid of all of these guys, and they don't really have anything for them. They got rid of Betts. They got rid of Sale. They got rid of Crochet. Or they got Crochet, rather.
They got Crochet, yeah. Crochet. But
they've given up on guys in their prime.
They thought they had Bogarts. No, I'm going to San Diego. You want to talk about San Diego got that guy. One other baseball note here, and it goes back to one of the stories we were just talking about. Federal Correctional Institution Ellenwood Low. That's the name of the prison that.
Right, yeah.
That reporting today to prison, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome in Ippei Mizuhara. He's the guy that
crazy story
stole. They're saying $17 million from Shohei. He stole.
Could you imagine having so much money that you could have $17 million missing and not even notice? Insane. I mean,
it's always like there's
a tinfoil hat here.
Well, and that's, I guess, where, if we're gonna, the pin is there, we're gonna leave the putt a little bit short of the pin and let everybody kind of draw their conclusions. Let's just say there's a movie script somewhere in here. Yeah, there's a movie script that this guy was just so calm, cool, and collected, but the thing about criminals, they lie. They know. So maybe this guy really was just thinking that he could live this way. Kind of interesting that this happens on the day that the Dodgers are going to put out Ohtani. If you're ESPN, how fuming are you?
Pretty fired up.
Well,
especially with yesterday.
Yesterday, you could have had Shohei. We would have tuned in last night. Did you tune in for Dodgers Giants last night?
I caught the tail end of it.
Okay, I did not because it was a lot going on Father's Day, and I got work to get done. And by the time I look at my phone, okay, the game's already in the 8th. Looks like the Dodgers going to win. I would have made an appointment. Oh, Shohei's on the mound. See, these are the things with baseball they've got to get better at.
I'll be tuned in tonight. I'll know that, but it's Monday night at 10 p.m. instead of Sunday night at 7.
Right. So the nation would have been watching yesterday. Hey, here's our number one star, and here he is back on the mound in case you forgot what it was like. It's just such a missed opportunity.
Yes.
You couldn't have done that a day earlier.
You can't force it. You can't rush it. I'm surprised, actually, because it kind of broke late last night. He's expected to pitch the series, and then all of a sudden he's pitching today.
Yeah.
And they could have thrown it anywhere, but, I mean, again, I'm excited. I'm hopeful that it's not instant regret because he has had countless injuries over his career.
How could it be? It's like one inning. What's the worst case scenario other than injury?
He gets shelled, but then you just pull him and let him hit home runs
well,
instead.
that's why. That's also a risk to this too. He's not facing the Rockies. He's facing the Padres.
Ohtani versus Tatis in the first inning.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yes,
I'm in.
I am totally in. Shame on you, Angels, for letting that talent walk out the door. As what happens when danger isn't here, I don't look at where we are on the clock. Oops, we got to take a break. We got shots coming up in the sports bar. More stories we haven't gotten to yet. We'll certainly talk about who's the next manager to get fired in baseball. I've kind of got my eye on that. Some stories we can talk about, too. My name is Gene Battaglia. He is Tim Schneider. This is the Fan Rochester.
Sports Update.
It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight. Indiana and Oklahoma City. The head coach of the Pacers, Rick Carlisle, on where to improve.
Problems that hindered us in the fourth quarter were inability to rebound the ball, unnecessary fouls. Doing better in those two areas, that will help us, but it's a challenge. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on you in the fourth quarter. I mean, they've got some great players that cause major problems.
Red Wings losing streak now up to 12. Team beginning a series at Lehigh Valley tomorrow night. Top prospect Brady House, he's been called up to Washington. The Nationals taking on the Rockies tonight. Giancarlo Stanton makes his season debut for the Yankees. They host the Angels. Shohei Ohtani will make his return to the mound tonight. He'll pitch just the first inning. The Dodgers facing the Padres. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
It's Battaglia and Schneider today. Danger is in Europe. I've never been to Europe, Tim.
Neither have I.
No, so life goals.
Canada.
Yeah,
Been to Canada.
Canada.
That's about it.
Canada, Mexico. I don't remember Mexico. I was too young for that. Last time Shohei Ohtani was on the mound in a Major League game, he was in L.A., the Angel. As we mentioned in the update, he's going to be facing the Padres, going as the opener tonight. Of course, he can't go down to rehab because, well, they need his bat here. If you recall, he hit 50 homers and 50 steals last season. His return to the mound was pushed back. As you recall, also in the World Series, he tore the labrum in his non-throwing shoulder. That pushed everything back. So the plan would have been, Tim, to have this guy ready week one, but they couldn't do that, and they couldn't even get him a normal spring training. So they're going to try to do this a little differently on the fly, give him an inning here, inning there, and then maybe by the time when the games really matter in the fall, he'll be able to go full distance.
Pretty excited for him to be back on the mound. Again, I'm hopeful that he is able to remain healthy. He's had numerous injuries just in his time in the States, the 7 or 8 years that it's been. He's had some injury woes. I'm hopeful again that he's able to get back and dominate. I mean, there's nobody more dominant than Shohei Ohtani in the sport of baseball, possibly ever. On pace for 50 again.
Mm-hmm.
Probably doesn't get there if he's going to be pitching, but it's a fun time to be a baseball fan with Ohtani doing both things again.
Little did anyone know at Fenway on Sunday, then when Rafael Devers homered, that was essentially his curtain call in Boston. The Sox sweeping the Yankees. He goes to the Giants last night. Fun fact, Tim, do you know who was the last San Francisco Giant to hit 30 homers in a season? While you think about that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's been a while.
The Giants paying the bulk of his contract that goes for another 8 years, 2033. Reliever Jordan Hicks, starter Kyle Harrison. They come back in the trade along with 2 minor leaguers. Harrison, by the way, was actually sent to Worcester. Tim, your answer is?
Buster Posey?
Wrong.
I don't know.
Bonds.
No way. That's crazy.
That is how in this day and age could you have a team go, checks notes, 21 years without getting a guy to 30 home runs?
That's impressive. I mean,
yeah.
And they won 3 World Series in that time too. So,
yeah, that's true.
So
yeah.
that's an impressive feat to not have a masher outside of Barry Bonds, and I'm surprised Buster never did it either. But that's nuts.
Yeah. So
Devers will get there this year. He's already halfway there,
and they're thinking he'll play first base for the Giant. I mean, Dominic Smith. You can step aside. Wilmer Flores. No, you could put him there.
Right.
We mentioned that the Yankees do get back Giancarlo Stanton. The 35-year-old Stanton shut down during spring training due to tendonitis in both elbows. He received the PRP injections. That was back in March. Look, if you're a Yankee fan saying, yeah, this is going to fix everything, caution, and I think you know this, since 2021, Stanton's batting average is just .212.
He's going to either come out and go 20 for his first 30 with 7 home runs, or he's going to go 2 for 40, and they're going to say that he's hurt again. So there's 2 results of this, and it's either good or bad. There's no he's been okay. Like he's either going to start hot and stay hot, or he's going to be dreadful. And as Yankee hater, I'm hoping it's the latter.
I'm going to read you the quote, and then after this, we'll tell you who said it, okay? And this is a manager in baseball. Ready? It's never on coaching. Never on coaching. Coaches work their asses off every single day. We're not going to finger point here and say it's the coaches. It's never the coaches. This manager goes on. They, meaning the players, have to go out there and play the game the right way. We can't hit for them. We can't catch the ball for them. We can't pitch for them. We can't throw strikes for them. They have to do that. So, Tim, my question is, when does Washington Nationals manager Dave Martinez get fired?
That is a fireable quote. Between him and Cora, I'm not sure which one's next, but they're definitely on the hot seat here.
Can you imagine an NFL coach saying, they got to block, they got to throw, they got. Okay, well, you can't fire all them, so what are you doing? You're saying I can't get the job done.
You just lit your own match, and,
like,
and that's that.
I heard that. I'm like, this guy's trying to get fired. Like there's only one either that or you're just on such a you're enraged for some reason. You shouldn't be out in front of reporters at that time. Again, this quote is unbelievable. It's never on coaching. Never on coaching. Coaches work their asses off every single day. We're not going to finger point here and say it's the coaches. It's never the coaches. The players, have to go out there and play the game the right way. We can't hit for them. We can't catch the ball for them. We can't pitch for them. We can't throw strikes for them. They have to do that.
The Nationals have lost 8 in a row. The Red Wings have lost 12 in a row. It is a crazy marriage here.
No, it's like okay, call up Matthew Lecroy. Yeah, I
think I'm good. Yeah.
I don't want that job. No, I don't want that job at all. Doing my Matthew Lecroy. Borderline sports, but because you're going to see this tonight in your feed, after a 1-year hiatus, Tim, Joey Chestnut is returning to the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. Let's pause right here. Is it really a sport just because they put it on ESPN? The 16-time champ missed last year's event because of a dispute with Major League Eating over his sponsorship deal with Impossible Foods, a company that makes plant-based hot dogs. The president of Major League Eating says that they are excited to have Chestnut back.
It's one of the most dominant achievements in, I guess we say, almost sport. 16-time champion. He missed it last year. They made a whole spectacle out of it on Netflix with his rival, whose name I've blanked on.
Kobayashi.
Yes, thank you. That was fun, I guess, but yeah, he'll go out and double up everybody and win yet again. So good for Joey Chestnut. Welcome back.
Yeah, that's it. Knowing that maybe you missed it last hour when we were talking about this, but I think it would be something special would have to happen to get us to talk about the College World Series. Something happened special today, the first no-hitter since 1960, and this wasn't one of these mamby-pamby no-hitters combined, let's get a reliever, walk 10 guys, whatever it is. No, this kid, Gage Wood from Arkansas, threw 119 pitches, struck out 19 Murray State batters, hit one batter.
One batter to lead off the 8th inning.
Right,
that was a game through 7.
Yeah, so no walks. And when you'll see the highlights, it's not just, oh gosh, he's got electric stuff on the mound. He's got the attitude to kind of go with this too. Like when it gets to the 7th inning, he strikes out a guy. He's coming off the mound screaming or something. Now, if this is the major leagues, somebody's getting dotted by the other team.
Right.
Maybe when Gage Wood gets to the pro ranks, but now all of a sudden, when we get to the Major League Baseball draft, I'm going to be paying attention to see where Gage Wood might end up.
There was some swag and fire in his game, and again, I mean, it was well deserved. 19 strikeouts in an elimination game in the College World Series. Only 3 ever. First one in 65 years. He's rated 50th in MLB's pipeline for this upcoming draft. I think he just vaulted into the first round after that performance. I mean, that was electric. He was throwing 97 in the 9th inning, and I mean, he carved Murray State up. That was really fun to watch today during the show here.
We know that tonight will not be the last basketball game because it is a Game 5 between the
pivotal one. I heard
pivotal 2-2. Will Stephen A. put the cell phone away tonight? I just love, like, Stephen A. getting caught playing solitaire during the NBA Finals.
Lying about it, like
lying
an
about
idiot.
it, too. Yeah.
Like, I can't fathom that. Like, you get caught, you own it, whatever, move on. Lying about it, like we have to believe him. Dude, just say you got, and let's move forward. But he's going to do what he's going to do.
Lisa Salters, by the way, will be back in tonight on the sideline for what it's worth. So, and they're going to show, like, another thing, too, like, oh, you should show the introductions. ABC's going to show the introductions tonight in Oklahoma City.
Make it a spectacle. Make it a movie.
Are we over, like, introductions, like, on TV? I guess it's kind of cool if it's your team and you're in the stands. But, like, what the Vegas Knights do, okay, yeah.
The in-game presentation is for the people in that arena. I don't need to see it. Like, I can find something else to do for the 20 minutes that you're doing that, and then once you tip off, I'll lock in. But I don't need to get revved up from my couch.
The thing, and the NFL, they're all guilty of this. Tune in tonight at 8:30. No, it's actually, what would it be?
8:52.
8:52 or whatever the tip time. The worst is like when you have a Triple Crown racing event. Hey, come on up at 5 o'clock. No, it's going to be at 5:58.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's going to last 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, nope. So like tonight, like I'm not one that needs to watch the NBA game wire to wire. If I miss the first 5-10 minutes, I'm okay on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Stanley Cup Finals, the same thing. You've got an 8 o'clock puck drop, but it's not dropping until 8:17. I've got 15 minutes that I can find something to do. Once you drop that puck, though, I'm in. Same with basketball. Like once the game gets going, I'll watch it. But in the meantime, or the lead into it,
yeah. Well, we're only at Game 3 coming up in the Calder Cup playoffs. Can you imagine if the Amerks were still going?
It's wild. Like we're talking almost July 4th.
No, it's like this is the one. I think hockey. Okay, let me preface this. If you're new to the show, I'm not a hockey hater. I love hockey. I go to Amerk games. I call RIT hockey. I can certainly. I mean, this is a hockey show. It's not a hockey hating show. Okay. That being said, of the 4 sports, this is the one that goes. Okay, you've overstayed your welcome here. Like, it's too long. We shouldn't be looking at the 4th of July coming up saying, hey, we still got action on the ice. No, like, to me, like, everything should be tightened up and pulled back here just a smidge and then wrap everything up around Memorial Day.
It doesn't help that we're about 60 hockey minutes away from Florida repeating, and between the Lightning and the Panthers, they've pretty much dominated the NHL.
Well, I'll say this. Like, Marchand, it feels different with the way he's...
Kind of cool. Kind of cool that he's able to do that.
Okay, so he's... Like, the Florida wins regardless of what happens tomorrow night or Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
He's the MVP. Would you say yes or no on that?
I think I would say yes.
Because
right now, yes.
Yeah, because voters love sentimentality, love the storyline. Yeah, Marchand, for being just a pickup for like a third liner, he has just been everything and then some for Florida. What if Edmonton wins, but it's not one of their star players' is fluky goals?
It's McDavid. It's got to be McDavid.
I don't know.
Draisaitl, maybe.
Maybe Draisaitl.
But that's about it.
Yeah. We'll talk to Dennis Bernstein on the show tomorrow, 4th period, where even I lost track. I said, hey, Dennis, we 2:25 Edmonton time. It's like, gee, we're in Florida tomorrow night. I'm like, okay, I'm glad you know where you are. We'll talk to Dennis. Also, and this kind of puts it in perspective, one last talk with Matt Perino before our summer break here. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard Shop Podcast. We'll talk about some of the things that come out of Bill's minicamp and then put a bow on it. And, Matt, if something happens, Matt's always available to us. He's one of the best. Tim, you're in all week here, bud.
I'll be here as long as you'll have me. Yes,
okay,
sir.
As long as you have me. We will have the JR Sport Brief coming up, and then BetMGM tonight. If you missed any of today's show, just download the Odyssey app. You can go back and listen. Again, our show 3 to 6 weekdays. For Tim Schneider, for Dan DeLorean, Dan Drummy, for Derek Abbey. My name is Gene Battaglia, and this is The Fan Rochester. Have a good night, everyone.